thank you to everyone who sold out the fucking Woolshed last night for what was an amazing Royal Rumble all-day party. We had an absolute ball. We're recording this the day afterwards on Sunday. A bit gentle. Look, if you're a long-time listener, you're very aware. You'll remember the Hangover shows, and I'm like, oh, we're back to doing them again. But I love them as well, because it gives us a chance to kind of debrief and have the chats about it and reflect while it's still fresh in our head. But Gerry, as we get underway on the second episode of the reboot of the Low Blows podcast, what were your highlights from, what will you remember when you think back to the Royal Rumble All-Day Party 2026? What were some of your best moments?
Well, the first thing for me is the disappointment. And the disappointment...
It was a shite night, and frankly, we owe everyone refunds.
the disappointment being that I didn't get to say fuck off to many people, and I was so pissed off at that. And I'm like, why aren't more people coming to the door asking for tickets? There was barely anybody coming up asking for tickets, so I couldn't tell anyone to fuck off. Then a large group of English lads came up, and I said, my time is now, here we go. And they just wanted to watch the football. I'm like, fuck's sake. I'm like, I can't tell them to fuck off because they want to watch football, because there was a football room. So, but for me, it was great to see so many old faces, because there's more as we're doing these, as we're going on with these since we came back last year. There's more and more old faces coming back, and I'm actually loving seeing that. I'm loving seeing all the old faces coming in, and equally, I'm loving seeing all the new faces coming in. But also, I think one of the best things about last night was that I'm still alive.
Why? Was that alive? A close call?
Yeah, because Katie Harvey didn't kill me.
I don't think she's listened to the podcast yet. Where you took a swipe at her, so that's probably why you got a bit lucky there.
I had a quick chat with her outside afterwards, and I said, I just want to let you know that my sincerest apologies. It was completely scripted. Jerry gave me that script, and that was nothing to do with me. That was nothing to do with me. And she said she'll listen to it Monday morning, and if I see a message coming to my phone that says Katie, I have to just run and hide. I'm like, okay, that's fair. That's fair. But obviously the event itself, depending on what way you were thinking, I thought it was a good event. But in terms of our night, we had a great night. Atmosphere was fucking electric from start to finish. It was, say what you want about the region where the pay-per-view was, and I'm not going to get into that now, but the early start really suited a lot of people. Like a lot of people were saying, "Oh, we're out day drinking." I'm like, "Oh fuck yeah, it is, yeah," because we're here at 4:00, But and what I'll say is, I've never seen it. We've had packed nights before, and we've had sold out nights before, but I've never seen it fill up as fast as it did. Like when we have our seat, our upstairs allocation is all, it's all allocated, blah, blah, blah. Downstairs is unallocated, but my God, did that fill up fast. People were coming in going, no, we didn't book a table, but there should be. I was like, yeah, good luck. Because I could look at the table, but we're going to have a look. Now, in fairness, a couple of people did come to us say, listen, there's nowhere for us to go, or we're just going to leave. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not leaving. I said, we're going to accommodate you. So between me and lesser Jimmy, or Jimmy 2.0, or mini Jimmy, whatever you want to call him, but Chris, who did, by the way, I have to say this now, did a fantastic job last night.
First night.
Now, his very first night doing it, he was respectful. He was nice. People got on well with him. And what I will, obviously, Chris doesn't know the Woolshed the way me and Jimmy know the Woolshed. So we know like 90% of the staff. So when the staff were walking up, we just give them a nod and in they go. But of course, Chris didn't know anyone. So he was asking every staff member, did they have a ticket? So that was fun. But, I could have stopped him. I didn't. But I was like, yeah, that's like, fuck it, it'll be fine. But I think Chris did an absolutely amazing job. We had some laugh with everybody coming in, from young and old, because there was people there that was like 18, 19, 20, so they're literally basically only kids really compared to us. Well, compared to me anyway. Then you've got the older ones who are my age and older, and everyone's getting on with each other. Everyone's been respectful. Everyone's getting fucking locked. But, I remember times in the past where people got messy and there might have been an issue, Nothing major, but you're like, listen, cop the fuck on. There was none of that I could see last night, and I did a few tours of the whole premises just to make sure that everything was okay. Everyone got along. You had people. This is the thing about our nights, and I will say this, is that people make friends on our nights. And they have done since the very beginning. There are people there who wouldn't have known each other before, and now they're friends. Like, you even look at some of our friend groups that are there, and they only know each other because of these nights. And that's what I love about them, because it literally brings people together. And
where I work now in my day job
yeah.
is because of this night. It's because of the people I met through Low Blows. Like, it's one of the. I always say that to people, where it's like I'll get a lot of like DMs and stuff like that from people going, my mates don't really like wrestling, can I come down on my own? I'm like, you have never been in a safer space to come down on your own. Not like from a safety standpoint, although obviously it is, but like in terms of like, you can just walk up to anyone and go, who do you think's going to win the Rumble? And you'll be chatting to them for the next half hour. And then like, if they see you're by yourself, they're like, come back to our table. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's one of those where everyone just make friends. Like, I remember one time, I can't remember what party it was since the reboot, but whatever way it was, I was kind of like, I had a few people bail early, like, so like in my friend group who I generally sit with, I was kind of left by myself by the end. But I literally was like, I'm surrounded by 200 friends. Like, I can just literally walk up and sit with any town. Now, that's me. I run the night and people know me as well. But it's very similar for everyone else. You just kind of walk around and get chatting to people. It is the best atmosphere. And that's kind of what we want. Like, just a community where people come together. And it always has been that. And, like, there was a few years, I think, in the Irish wrestling fan scene, not necessarily surrounding Low Blows or anything, or to get, not even to get specific, but I think you probably remember 2018-19, it got a little bit toxic for a while, and I hated that a little bit, because there was always drama. Like, there was a lot of people who were like, wrestling needs to solve all of the world's social issues, and it's like, that's not what wrestling's for, lads. Like, wrestling is for just like switching off, forgetting about your shy, like putting your hand up when Roman Reigns music goes, fucking singing Kit Wilson's song. Like, that's what wrestling's for, to just switch off. And we've really, because that was the one thing that people loved about Low Blows when we started, and we've come back to that now since the reboot. That's what I want. I'm like, no bullshit, no crap, no drama. This is a switch off, have fun, have a laugh zone. Like, everyone is buying into that. Everyone wants the same thing. They're like, we missed this. Like, we didn't realize what we had and whatever, like when it was away. And everyone's just all bought in and on the same page, and it's the best feeling. For me, what I love, and again, we've very different kind of perspectives and experience despite working so closely since the start because of what we do. But like, I'm obviously on the stage hosting the night, and the things that we did, like, we had loads of people get on, and they were like you said, to your point, there's a lot of people who are just coming back in, and they're like, I haven't been to one since 2017, and they're getting onto us, and they're going, holy shit, like, you guys have your shit together. Like, we play on our phones, and there's stuff on the screens, and it's like a full fucking show and presentation now. As opposed to like us just kind of winging it, which we still are. Like, there's always mistakes and fuck ups and stuff like that, but I love that. That's kind of part of it when I fuck up on the stage and everyone slags me. Like, that's part of the night and part of the story. But we are a much kind of slicker operation than we were, and people are kind of commenting on that. But it's the smaller moments for me. Like, and even like, so we did after the Royal Rumble pay-per-view itself, we did the music bingo, and some people were like, I've been here for 7 hours, I need to go home as soon as the Rumble were on. And I get that, and I knew that'd be the case, but I'm like, for people that want to stay and still have the points, and this is their one night out this month, like, we're doing music bingo and stuff like that, so we're playing to a smaller audience. I low-key love that, because you then get to like hone in on, you kind of get to know, this is the DJ brain in me, you get to know what everyone likes and wants, and you get to just feed them it individually in a way you just can't when there's 300 people there. So the end of the night was fucking, it was probably my favorite bit, where it was like, we went in and we did the Kit Wilson song, which we played about 4 times last night because people kept requesting it. Like, that is the new song of like this year, to be honest. It's great. And people were getting up dancing like it was a fucking nightclub. And then I was like, right, we had to wrap up. It was the end of the night. And I'm like, okay, everyone, can you just stand for the Irish national anthem, please? And everyone stands and takes it very seriously and very respectful. And then it's like, my name is Fenley and I love to fight. And then everyone stayed standing. Everyone just committed to it. They're like, yeah, yeah, okay, no, I accept this as our new
Yeah.
national anthem. That's fine. Then we stuck on My Sacrifice. We're like, right, let's play a real fucking last song. And everyone is just like fucking air guitaring it, giving us socks. It's that stuff as well, though. Like, I remember, like, we were talking last year, I spoke about this before. We were talking to WWE, not to fucking name drop or anything like that, about potentially doing some stuff together. And, like, they were asking for more information because they're aware of us. We've done bits with WWE literally since we've started in the Woolshed about 10 years ago. Um, so they're aware of what we do, but they've obviously never been there because they're at the shows that they produce. But they don't know or get low blows fully because you can't really get it until you go. And they're like, so you just kind of screen the shows and have a party. Yeah, a lot of people do it. I'm like, you don't get it. It's not that. It is like the wrestling, if anything, is just something we show around the rest, or we set you up for the wrestling. And it was like an old thing that we did was that like worked back in the day, but kind of confused people as well. Was I used to finish the Royal Rumble like kind of pre-show with the final countdown. That was my last song for beforehand because countdown blah blah blah. And people are like, "Why are you playing this?" And they reverse engineer it in their head and they're like, "Oh, we're going to be doing loads of countdowns because the Royal Rumble, but it's a banger, so we'll sing along and blah 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 blah." And it like it didn't never hit the way that I fully wanted it to hit. But then last night I played it as the last song, and we had
Oh, it
the
hit.
Netflix countdown in the background, and like there's literally a final countdown on the screen, and then literally it finishes and it comes into like, but I timed it this way where it's like 10, 9, 8, and then everyone like they are at 10 for the start of the Royal Rumble, and I'm like, this is fucking class. This is what you get. No matter, there are going to be people who are going to be sitting at home and just moaning about this because there was aspects, and we'll touch on it briefly. There was aspects of the Royal Rumble where it was very predictable. Like the results went exactly as the bookie said they would. Even in our prediction league, like 88% of our prediction league had Drew McIntyre to win. 80% of them had Gunther to win. 50% of had Roman Reigns to win out of a 30-man field, and 44% had Liv Morgan to win. So all of the picks went through. And you could easily, if you were sitting at home, you'd be like, "This is shite, blah 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 blah." You'd be moaning. You wouldn't really have a shit night, and your wrestling fan experience isn't enhanced. If you're at the parties, you still feel the same things, but you're having a good time. You're around mates, and you're discussing that frustration with them, even if you are frustrated by some of the stuff that's happening, and you're enjoying yourself. You come away with a happy memory because you have all those, like, you've been pumped up full of wrestling fan juice, and you're just like, let's go. So you don't care, even if the things are a bit substandard. So thank you to everyone. It was great. We're gonna have news. We're just ticking and tying everything for WrestleMania weekend, so we're gonna have news coming out about that very shortly. Stay tuned to our socials. We can't wait for it. We've got some ideas already kind of that we're working away on, as we always are. And then like if you went to the Royal Rumble, keep an eye on your email. We're going to be sending. We always look after the people that look after us, so we're going to be sending out early bird tickets to everyone who attended the Royal Rumble as well. So keep an eye on your emails this week, and we'll get you sorted. Jerry, let's touch on the Rumble itself, the pay-per-view. I know you're working the door. You watched half of it on an iPad I set up for you guys, so you wouldn't have to miss any of it. But your thoughts in general. First off, like kind of let's touch on. Should we touch on the stadium? Like. Which looked good, newly built, not a lot of seats filled. I think we had
Right.
more in Woolshed than they had in Saudi Arabia. I think we did.
Right.
I think
Okay.
ours, like
So
we were fuller than they were.
this is right. This is a thing that has been said online, and I think it will be 100% debunked in the next day or two. Is that when you're looking, and myself and new Jimmy or lesser Jimmy or Jimmy 2.0, whichever I want to call him, Chris, we are looking at it going, geez, it's very empty, isn't it? When the lights were on. So the lights, all these individual lights where all these chairs were, you're like, Jesus, there's nobody in it. This is dreadful. This is AEW levels of fucking attendance. This is dreadful. And then the lights turned off around the people. I'm like, oh fuck, there are people there. Oh shit. Wait a minute. Wait. So when you actually look at it properly, when you look at it at just your first glance, you think that is empty. The place is fucking empty. It wasn't. It genuinely wasn't. We went back on a couple of little shots that were on it. When the lights were on, and it was a stupid fucking setup. I will say that. fantastic that they were able to build a stadium in a week or two, whatever it may be, and the stadium itself looked amazing. The set looked amazing. Everything looked great. But those fucking lights made it look like there was nobody there. And then when the lights turned off and the matches were actually on and you looked out to that crowd, there was actually a crowd there. But it was so badly, I think probably badly designed, that it looked like AEW marks are having a field day online about this now, saying, look at this. They can't even fill a stadium in Saudi Arabia. Actually, they did fill the fucking stadium. I don't know if it was completely full, but when you see those lights go off, there were people in those seats. 100,000,000% that I'll put my life on.
Jerry, are you trying to get a contract here or something? It's in your second fucking show, and here he is, like, spewing out the fucking WWE propaganda. Now, like, a lot of people are going to say...
Let me be clear. Right. No, let me be clear about this, okay? Absolutely, 1,000,000% yes, WWE. Right, so... If you put it into context of football, okay, for me, WWE is Man United, because I used to be a football fan. I gave up watching football about 2009, 2010, something along those lines. But I was a Man United fan, like yourself. I can see you wearing a Man United top, so I was a Man United fan. AEW is Liverpool, so I fucking hate AEW.
Premier League champions. I'm a United fan, but that's a poor example of.
I don't care if the champ. I don't give a fuck. The people online will say EW is the best thing since sliced bread. It's not. Now this is the say. Oh, you have to watch it. I have watched it, and I don't like it. And it's simple as that. But it's this whole mentality.
Why are we talking about AEW? This is a Royal Rumble recap.
I'm telling you now. Fuck AEW is what I'm trying to say. Fuck AEW. You'll have every single You'll have every AEW mark online saying, oh, it wasn't full, this and that. It was fucking full. It was loads of fucking people there. Cop the fuck on. It was just a badly designed setup with all the lights around people's heads. That's why you couldn't see them. So shut the fuck up about AEW, okay?
Hey, Jared, shut up about AEW. You to jump into a turf war here. You're just coming out swinging at AEW. I'm not even defending them. I'm just saying AEW just ran a little collision last night. They didn't even done anything like you're just coming out... Love swinging for some reason on this version.
Listen, your time is coming, so don't you fucking worry, okay? Your time is fucking coming. But in terms, right, so the stadium itself wasn't a great setup, I think, but it was plenty of people there. Now, saying that, right, so I had to just get through that part. Saying that, obviously, the Women's Royal Rumble, they went out there, they absolutely killed themselves trying to put on the best match possible. I think they did a really good job. And the crowd that were there couldn't have given less of a fuck. And that is a very fucking sad thing about these Saudi shows, that the women, they don't care about.
Okay, I'm going to zag a little bit. I'm not going to turn around and say, yeah, Saudi Arabia, right for thinking women are second. That's not what I'm saying here, just to be clear. I was immense. Like, look, I do agree. This isn't a dig at the participants. This is more a dig at the structure of the match, and that WWE are missing out on what a Royal Rumble should be, okay? WWE are almost like using Royal Rumbles, this era of WWE, and last year was just as guilty. They're using Royal Rumbles as like springboards for NXT talents that nobody really knows. So maybe you'll get a look at this talent who you don't watch on NXT. And there should be a degree of that, but it should really be the top level, like Sol Ruka and stuff like that. Like, there you go. That's who you want to kind of spotlight, but pick your one or two. They're filling it up with like Kiana James and stuff like that. And it's like, they're not massively over even in NXT. Like, you know, you can't really be, and it's at the expense of, like, there was one surprise in the Women's Royal Rumble last night, and it was Brie Bella.
You couldn't call that a surprise, Jerry. You really couldn't, because everyone knew.
Yeah, but it was
so underwhelming.
But that's the point. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's like, they've lost the art of like, this should be a place for like surprises and fun and viral moments and this and that. And instead what they're trying to do is they're trying to use it as a showcase. Do you know the way like at WrestleMania, they'll try get everyone on the card because you've worked hard for the year. So we're going to have a big fuck off like 20-man tag team match or a battle royal or something to get you on a WrestleMania. Like, well, they don't do it as much anymore, but they used to. Now that's what the Royal Rumble is becoming. And it's not that the talent aren't working hard. I do feel bad because I'm going around recording recording reactions. Like, and every time, like last night, especially during the women's rumble, I felt like, you know, you'd have three, two, one, and the reaction was a wet fart because it was someone else that we either knew, expected, or didn't know because they were trying to like shoehorn them into the Royal Rumble match. And
Yeah.
there was just a lack of any surprise, any intrigue, or anything like that, which kind of killed it. And my one big point about the women's Royal Rumble is, I thought it was a really bad look at the end. I have no problem with Liv Morgan winning. I picked her to win, and I think she deserves to win. She's the biggest
Yeah.
like name and in WWE right now. I'd say she's the biggest like kind of breakout star. Um, I've no problem with Tiffany Stratton, a very talented wrestler, and I've definitely have no problem with Sol Ruka. She is fantastic. She's your next
And
star.
absolutely
She is,
fantastic. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
she's either going to win the Rumble next year or the year after, but she is like really quickly moving her way up, right? But having the last three of them felt like you just looked at it, and I turned around to the people I was standing beside at the time, and I go, "Do you think WWE have a type?" You know what I mean? It was really disheartening, especially in Saudi Arabia, especially considering WWE now through Triple H and Linda McMahon and everything else are so entrenched in like Donald Trump's America. It looked like Donald Trump's America's version of femininity to say these three gorgeous blonde women are everything women should aspire to. That is a tough look. There was no diversity. They looked identical when they're in the ring together. Like it actually, they looked like a trios tag team. Do you know what I mean? And again, like there's no disputing that each individually deserves to be there, but like cosmetics matter, diversity matters. Like I'm not trying to like just be woke here or anything like that, but it was a really hard look for those three to be the last
Oh,
three.
100%.
It's not that
Yeah.
WWE isn't good at this in general. Jay Cargill is one of the champions. They have a diverse kind of lineup, but for them to kind of go, these are the three we want to push forward as kind of the three next stars, like pushing for WrestleMania. I was like,
Yeah.
it's a bad image for a bad like Rumble. And again, that's not saying the talent were bad in it. That's not saying they didn't execute well, but it was poorly conceived, poorly structured, and they're missing big on what the purpose of a Royal Rumble match is. And part of that is down to Triple H himself. He went around all fucking week saying so many surprises. He was Donald Trump and he was like, surprises, we got surprises everywhere. There's gonna
Gonna
be
be
surprises,
huge.
so many
Huge.
surprises. And it's just like it's fucking crazy that like
Yeah.
Brie Bella was the one actual surprise they had, unless they consider Kiana James a surprise, because nobody knows who Kiana James is like on a wider level, like do you know what I mean? And I'm not digging at her, like she's just the person that comes to mind as like underwhelming. Like get your pages in. Like if you have even in the men's, if you have Jericho, if he is coming back, I will weigh up whatever his comeback is against having it be in the Royal Rumble match in Woolshed, and it will probably fall short. Why are you not taking advantage of these moments? Why are you going to such lengths, flying talent in on different planes and this and that and the other, as we heard during the week, to not deliver anything of substance here? It was borderline unforgivable, like for me, and especially just the last look. It just felt very Donald Trump's America, leaving a bad taste in the mouth to like have it just be three. Like if you just looked at them at first glance, you could confuse them for the other. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like,
Yeah.
especially with how far women's wrestling has come, and in WWE to just kind of have it go back to the template of, oh, the gorgeous blonde women are on top, you know, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
like, come on.
But
Like, this is
Jared, it's exactly
right.
what I said last week. It's exactly what I said in the podcast last week. When you look at that booking committee, when you look at every single one of
Yes.
them that are there, they're all white males, and that's
Yeah.
the type. And they're all white males. And the fact that they're under Triple H, they're working for the WWE. Majority are probably either Trump supporters or voters, wherever it may be. This is what you're going to get when you have people like that, and that's the unfortunate thing about it.
And
But I
it's
think a lot of the
biased,
women,
like,
yeah, oh yeah, 100%.
it's not even like, I don't think it's deliberate. I don't think they're proposing like I'm not going being crazy here and saying they're proposing an Aryan kind of, you know, that's not where I'm going with this. But it is just, if you come from a certain background, you're going to naturally, even if you don't realize it, favor people of certain backgrounds. It's why it's important that stuff like in interviews, you have gender balance and stuff like that as well. Because if two men are interviewing a man, they're going to identify closer with them. Two women interviewing a woman, they're going to identify more. If you have a balance and you have the mix of both, you know what I mean? It's important for that reason. But yeah, when you have people, that is a consequence of exactly what you said last week. It is them naturally favoring it, and it's an output. It's not an intent. I don't think they said we need to finish this with three good-looking blonde women in the last three. But it is just an unfortunate consequence that when we got there, it's like, yes, this is bias. Like we're right there, talking. And the problem is as well that even though the three women are individually talented, now they're not standing out. Now they're appearing samey. They're just because they look like a template, and they're all individually talented in very different ways. So it benefits nobody to have that. It actually harms everyone involved. And I know people might turn around and think this is small, Jared. This doesn't matter. It does. It fucking matters, because that is the output that you end up getting. Because then what's everyone aspiring to? They're going to aspire to be the top. It then starts to purvey into the subconscious of women's wrestling that you have to have this look, you have to have this image, you can't succeed if you're not the. All of that plays into each other, and that's kind of what we've moved on from. But WWE seem to be slowly moving back. But it is part of a more symptomatic problem of America that unfortunately WWE through Triple H is a part of, and we're seeing it play out. Like literally the shows in Saudi Arabia, the women have to, like, they can't wear their normal clothes because WWE are afraid to offend Saudi Arabia, but they want to take their money. And then we're getting this Donald Trump's America kind of vision at the end of the Royal Rumble that seems to in certain ways set a lot of the progress and good work they have done back, because it gives an image and so on. Let's touch on AJ Styles' retirement. Very emotional. I put up a video earlier of the reactions. If you weren't there, have a look. It kind of got the full roller coaster as well, of how people were feeling at the end. He had the whole gloves off then gloves on thing. People are reading into that. Like there's tweets. I know we were talking about it last night. Ricochet putting out tweets. Mercedes Moné put out a tweet as well saying, I hope the rumors are true, straight afterwards. And there is talk of, like, was he putting back on the gloves because he plans to do another run somewhere else, like TNA, AEW, or was it just like, I'm not, like, again, how did you read into like the match, the finish, the retirement, and the emotion around it?
We had a chat about this last night, myself and Chris on the door, and there was only one way for AJ Styles to win. That was by shenanigans. So somebody interfering, but then it was like, who's going to interfere? There's nobody going to interfere. And I was like, oh, mate, John Cena maybe showing up because it's Saudi Arabia, likes to throw money around, the whole lot. And I was like, that's the only thing I could think of. But essentially, if there's no shenanigans, he was going to lose. They're not going to take away this career killer thing from Gunther right now. There will be somebody who comes along who destroys him, and that'll be the career killer gimmick done. But they're going to ride that train and ride the train till the wheels come off, or whatever the fuck it's saying is. To me, it was a great match. People give Gunther a lot of shit because of this gimmick that he's doing, and I think he's doing a great job. He's really he is the quintessential heel here. He just laughs in your face because you're a whiny little bitch. I absolutely think he's doing a fantastic job. This career killer thing, it is good. It's fucking devastating. It is absolutely devastating because you're like, for Goldberg, I think Goldberg was retired anyway, so just to come back for one match, fine, fair. Cena, Jesus Christ, that was a killer, and I'm not a Cena fan, but that was a killer. But this one last night really hit me. It was the 10th anniversary of him coming to WWE. He doesn't tap, so the only person who was tapped to Gunther has been Cena. Everyone else has been knocked out. So I kind of like, okay, so that's a bit of a. We'll touch on that another time maybe, but Styles being knocked out and he stands in the ring, takes the gloves off. That's the universe of the gloves or the boots, whatever, being put in the ring. That's kind of like the sign of you're done. But then he puts the gloves on, so that immediately he's like, everyone's like, what does that mean? That means something. It does mean something. What does it mean? I don't know. Personally, I would love to see even a short run in TNA because that's where he really began. That was his home for so long. I would love to see him do something with TNA and then transition into that kind of coach role that many of you have talked about, and he's even talked about, and even they've put out a lot of photos over the last couple of days anyway of him backstage with a lot of talent, sitting down with them, having chats with them. Basically, you can see he's already starting to do that role anyway, even as an active wrestler. What I do not want to see is you see a lot of people who are retiring. If it's a retirement, let it be a retirement. Let it actually be a retirement. Don't go to AEW because they're going to throw money at you.
Who's done that? Name one.
I'm not getting into it right now.
Who's retired and gone to AEW?
Fucking Edge.
He didn't retire. He left WWE. He was very clear. It's his last day under contract. No one's retired and gone to AEW. That hasn't happened.
Well, whatever it is, if you want to leave and go work somewhere else, okay, absolutely fine. I look at Jon Moxley as the perfect example of that. He left, went over, worked there. He's doing really well over there. Or actually, I don't know. I don't know if he's even still wrestling there anymore. But that for me is the way to do it. I don't want to see this happen to AJ Styles. I don't want to see him retire and go to AEW. That for me is a big thing. I don't want to see that. If people want to leave a company and go to somewhere else, that's fine because that's what they want to do. You look at Tommaso Ciampa. He left because he wanted to leave. That's it.
I don't see it happening because it'd be so aggressive. And AJ has always been someone who's connected with people because he's not got his finger on the pulse on social issues in the past, but he's got his finger on the pulse of what is cool about wrestling, and he's managed to be someone who has rode that wave and managed to stay in fans' favor like throughout pretty much his entire career. It would be such an aggressive move to retire and then kind of do the CM Punk thing where he's like, I retired from sports entertainment and now I'm back to wrestling. Like, that's just not the way the wind is blowing. Like, if he was to do that with AEW, I don't see it. It is interesting that everyone's coming out and saying it, which makes me think there something to it. Like, what are they, like, why would they start trouble for their friend and colleague and former co-worker why would they even, like, admit this or even like hint at it? So that has me thinking that it's not beyond the realms of possibility. It would be funny if AJ came out and did it. I'm not fucking leaving. We've never seen someone reject a retirement. We've never seen someone go, actually, no. Which would be fun and interesting if he did. But I don't know. I just think that it is what it looks like, and I think we like to get worked up about that. And I think AEW, and to be honest, like again, I'm not an AEW hater like Gerry, but like, it's a bit desperate on their part if there's nothing to this, and they're just trying to like. They're just pretending that this is a thing just to actually get some attention because no one's watching Collision last night because the Royal Rumble's on. So I don't see anything to it, but the fact that they're like, again, people that he knows and have his number are kind of fanning this flame just gives me pause. But ultimately on balance, I just think this was what it was, and he'll just...
I hope so. I really do hope so. Now, the thing is, I'll say about it is that the two main ones from AEW that have come out and said this were Ricochet and Mercedes Moné. And they're the two biggest fucking trolls on the planet when it comes to wrestling. So it's not beyond the realm of them, let's put this out and maybe people will tune in. People will tune in.
There's a difference with trolling like the fans and like actually messing with your coworker and colleague and friends retirement and just throwing doubt on it for the sake of attention like that. And again, if that is what it is, that's kind of like it's poor, it's amateurish. It's bad faith, but I don't think, like, again, I don't think they do that. I don't think that, like, because AJ would just text them and go, why are you doing this? Like, it's my retirement. Stop trying to turn my retirement into a watch AEW plug. Like, it's weird. That's what gives me pause. So I don't know. It is interesting. And I hope that on Raw this week, he comes out and actually kind of gives an indication and has a goodbye. I don't know, though. It's very interesting, very emotional.
The thing about it is, just because somebody says they're retired doesn't mean they're no longer under contract. So there's been no mention of his contract status with WWE. So just because somebody says they're retired doesn't mean, I'm retired now, I can just jump to some other company because I said I was retired. So he could still be contracted with WWE for the next 6 months, a year, whatever it may be.
February.
Oh, for fuck. Okay, fuck you. You know what? Fuck you.
It expires in February. Yeah, no, it is. He is out of contract. Like that's probably why it did. Like so, yeah, it's yeah.
Well, that just
He
that
could.
itself fans the flames of him going to
Yeah,
somewhere
it
like
could it
AEW.
could happen, and maybe they're just trying to like kind of go, oh, come on, AJ, come over, it's fun here. We've got like yeah, so I don't know, it'd be interesting anyway. Let's touch on the men's rumble before we get on to. We've obviously got something very special. I think you guys know what the surprise is because you clicked on the episode and it has it in the title, but I'll discuss that when we get to it. Let's touch on the men's rumble before we get to our the bulk of our show this week. Any thoughts? Roman Reigns winning. We obviously had a big showcase for
Happy.
Obafemi.
I'm happy with Roman Reigns winning, and then it got kind of a lot of the Rumble set up WrestleMania. As you know, as you can see, there's a couple of matches. We're not just talking about the winner. There's a couple of matches coming from this, right? So I'll just touch on a few things real quick, and then obviously we'll go into our next part. But for me, I had it that there was two possible winners. So I had um, Roman Reigns, obviously ultimate winner, and then Jacob Fatu to set up the triple threat match with Drew and Cody. I was happy enough with Roman Reigns winning. It's good to see him back. He's in great fucking shape. He looks amazing. Let's be honest, he looks an absolute $1 million when he walks out to his entrance. It's absolutely fantastic. But for me, the one person that came into that Royal Rumble, and I've actually been saying just how much of an absolute fucking star he is. He's a superstar. He's a future WrestleMania Hall of Famer. He's a future world champion, future Royal Rumble winner, the whole fucking lot. Obafemi is the whole fucking package. He got in there. He was dominant. He's just amazing. Like everything he does is just, he looks like he's killing you. He looks like he's fucking killing you. I'd love to see him go up against, like him against Gunther would be fucking unreal. They'd knock the shit out of each other. Great. But they've obviously set something up in a number of matches up in this Royal Rumble. So I think we're going to get Brock and Oba at Mania.
Yeah.
I think that's a definite, right? You're going to have Reigns and Punk because he's going to go after Punk. He's not going to go after Drew because what's the point of going after Drew? He's going to go after somebody he has proper history with. So it's going to be Romans and Punk at WrestleMania. Punk gets his, as he will say, like he was in the main event. He was a triple threat match, but this is a proper main event. This is for the title, 1-on-1 with the top guy there. It's him and Roman. I think that's where it's going to be. You've got Drew coming out eliminating Cody, so it's going to be Cody, Drew, and Jacob Fatu for the triple threat match at Mania. That's another one there. Then you've got the shocker for me. Jesus, I couldn't believe it because I thought there's an outside chance he's going to win, which was Braun Breaker winning. Braun Breaker gets attacked beforehand, gets eliminated in seconds by Obafemi.
Brilliant.
It was it came out of left field, it was absolutely brilliant. People are all saying, oh, it's set. Whatever it may be, whatever you want to say, the person in the mask was not Seth Rollins. I'm saying it now, it wasn't Seth Rollins. It didn't look like him. When you would even look at the hands were more tan than you ever see fucking Seth Rollins be. So it may come out that, in a week or two or three or whatever, when Seth Rollins comes back, that it was him, but it was somebody else that was playing. It's like El Grande Americano, fucking 20 people wear the mask, but it's not, you're always thinking it's Chad Gable, but it's not. So the person behind Haas was not Seth Rollins, but it may come out, oh, that was me. Yeah, I was there. I definitely wasn't him. But again, if Seth is healthy for Mania, it's setting up Seth versus Braun as well. So I'm like, this one Rumble has set up so much for WrestleMania. Absolutely fantastic. But no, again, like we said before, not a single surprise, really. There was no shockers in the match. We didn't get a Jericho. We didn't get any like major like turns or anything like that. The only one.
The Parker was there.
You've got now. I don't know his new name, but Powerhouse Hobbs, was that a Powerhouse Hobbs?
Yeah, Royce Keys is his new name.
Royce Keys. He was the only kind of slightly shocker, but we knew he was going to be there.
Yeah,
this was not a surprise.
Yeah.
But again,
like
he
I
looked
said,
$1
if there's
million.
if Jericho does come back, I will weigh it against how cool it would have been if he'd come out during the Rumble.
Yeah.
And I know he's done that before, and like I'm not saying that it won't be better, but it's going against that, and that would have been a peak time because again, the Rumble is when you get that peak of people. Like I had people that I used to watch wrestling. I had the person that I went down, and I just we don't keep in touch anymore. But the person I went down to watch my first ever training session with Irish Rep Wrestling in the original school that got burned down. he was there last night. We just bumped into each other at the bar, and he was like, "What the fuck? You do this?" And I'm like, "What the fuck? Why are you here?" And I didn't know you like wrestling anymore. He's like,
Yeah.
"I don't, but it's a Royal Rumble, and I heard this is on, so I said I come." And then you're just standing on stage. So yeah, like you get that kind of peak interest. So to have a Jericho there would have like kind of fanned that and kept
Yeah.
people on. So yeah, like it's a missed
I
opportunity. But it was
I
a well
have
executed Rumble.
I
It was a
think
better
so, yeah.
Rumble than the Women's Rumble.
But I do have a prediction
Okay.
with regards to Jericho. Now, I could be completely wrong here, okay? But it's just something that I thought about last night. We didn't see him. They are very clearly setting up Reigns versus Punk for Mania, okay? My prediction is that it's not going to be just a normal match between Punk and Reigns. It's going to be something that's going on. Neither man can really beat each other. We're going to get interference. I think there's where your return for Jericho comes in. Jericho comes back, costs Punk the World Heavyweight title. Reigns wins the title from Punk. Jericho costs Punk the title at WrestleMania. That's my prediction
Okay.
for WrestleMania, because they've got the history with AEW. You know, whatever you have to say about Jericho, I do like Jericho, but Jesus, everywhere he goes is the best place he's ever worked with in his whole history of his whole fucking life. It's the best thing. He's like Ric Flair. Everywhere Ric Flair went was like, this is the greatest wrestling company in the history of mankind. I'm like, it's an indie company. Fuck off. Shut up. Shut your mouth. He just does it everywhere he goes, and Jericho does the same thing. So I think it's that whole thing is going to be brought in, that Jericho comes back, he costs Punk the title, and that sets up Punk to have a feud. Then Roman then goes off. You could have Roman versus Braun after that, then, or Roman versus Seth again. There's a lot of possibilities on Raw, because that's where Roman's going to be set up now. He was SmackDown, he's now on Raw now, or he will be when he goes after Punk. But there's a lot of possibilities coming out of this WrestleMania. I think WrestleMania this year is going to be absolutely top notch. The top, like, not, I can't say that every year. I think this year, Jesus, the matches that they're potentially setting up. For one thing though, I across everything else now, my number one, I'm a big Punk guy. I love Jacob Fatu as well. I'm a big Reigns guy as well. But for me, I am going to be watching the career very closely of Obafemi,
If you
because
had to pick,
Jesus.
right? I think you've tipped your hat to this, but I'll ask anyway. Um, they did have a moment which I thought was really good,
Mm-hmm.
where it was Obafemi, Javon Evans, and Trick Williams in the ring together, right? 5 years from now, and their careers, like the reason they have that, obviously, if you don't know and you don't watch NXT, is their NXT careers are interlinked. They are
Mm-hmm.
inseparable from each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when they brought like Charlotte, Becky, and all them up from
Yeah.
NXT together. That is them. And really cool moment. But in 5 years from now, who's the person will go, they indisputably had the best career? I'm assuming you're going with Oba.
It's going to be Oba, but for me, it's
Yeah.
Oba. But I know you're saying Trick Williams.
Strick, did you
Yeah.
hear the reactions? The reactions he's getting, the charisma he has. Like, I wouldn't have said it from NXT, which is mad. But since he's come up to the main roster, he is
Oh, he's
on
huge.
fire.
He is
He's
fucking
like
huge.
kind of
Yeah.
like adopted some of what worked from the Velveteen Dream gimmick as well, which was a brilliant gimmick, just with the wrong person, obviously. And he's interlinked that with his existing character work. I think it's Trick. I think 5 years from now, I think Oba is the guy. Oba is Rusev. Ova is the guy who, like, oh my God, you forget how over Rusev was. You forget you were in the wool shed when John Cena beat Rusev at WrestleMania, and people went
Yeah.
fucking apeshit because they're like, no, Rusev is your fucking guy. They fucking loved Rusev. Do you know what I mean? But that's Ova, where he's the dominant guy and has a dominant year or two, but then they always make room for a new big dominant guy, because and the big dominant guy, like even thinking last night, Oba eliminated Brock Lesnar. He's probably going to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. He threw Damian Priest out like Damian.
Other way
Right,
around.
okay, we can discuss that when we do our WrestleMania kind of talks, if it even happens. But like, he threw Damian Priest out of the ring
Yeah.
like he was nothing, and Damian Priest 2 years ago was the guy who, and so like they always recycle those guys. Whereas the charismatic guys, the guys who can do promos, the guys who can repeat themselves and stuff like that, like they are the guys that last. So I'm going with Trick,
Oh,
but I do
I
get
don't
the
dispute
overlook.
you. I don't dispute you. I think Trick Williams is, again, another WrestleMania main eventer. Royal Rumble winner, World Heavyweight Champion, the whole lot. I think he's absolutely up there. What I would love to see was, because they have so much history, can you imagine a WrestleMania main event? It's going to take a year or two or three to culminate, but imagine a WrestleMania main event of Obafemi and Trick Williams for the title. I think
Don't
that
rule
would
out
be,
Javon either. Javon
yeah.
is over. Javon is great.
Javon, you see, this is the problem. Javon is over with the crowd. But do backstage people always give a shit what the crowd think? No, they don't.
He's the
Because
type though, like
in their mind, but I'm telling you, you look at Triple H and all that booking team, right? In their mind, he's not world champion material. For us, he
okay,
would be absolutely. I could see him
okay.
winning the world title.
But
But for the men
have you
backstage, no.
watched much of their stuff on NXT? Have you watched much of?
I'm not going to say. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a huge fan of watching them all the time. No,
Okay,
but I
well
have watched
then
some of their stuff.
allow me to give you the counterpoint from that, because
Mhm.
what you're doing, what you're saying has been the story on NXT, where Javon never won the title, but the other two did. Okay,
Mhm.
and Javon was always the other guy in their feud. Javon was always the guy who got over most. So rule him out at your peril, because he has that capability to do as Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, who just like comes up through the goodwill of the crowd because they love
Yeah,
him that much. And I agree with what you're saying in WWE's assessment. They've made that assessment clear in the way they booked NXT,
yeah.
but Javon just won't be denied in that way. Now, don't get me wrong. They know
I
what
hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
they're pushing him in that way.
Yeah.
They're being clever about it. But I'm just saying, I do think Trick Williams of the three, but I'm just saying don't rule out Javon. I'd actually say 5 years from now, I'd say Trick, Javon, Oba. But we'll turn around and say what a year or two that Oba had. He will get his big run and he'll be amazing, but then there will be a new version of Obafemi that comes along, and because that's what WWE do in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things. Anyway, look, we're speculating. We're getting into it, and we
Yeah.
could probably spend the whole time. And we have a big interview to get to. You guys can see the length of this show. So we're going to get to it. Guys, this week we have a very special interview, one that I've been working on for a long time. Some of you may have listened to the old interview podcast that I launched last year for a few episodes called Ring Psychology. The purpose of that, if you didn't listen to it, I'll bring it across because it's going to be relevant here, because it's an interview podcast, but it's a little bit different because I didn't want to just do a generic interview podcast. So I wanted, if I was going to ever do an interview podcast, because I've podcasted since 2008, I wanted it to be something that was like, right, you can't hear this anywhere else. It's different, and I bring something fresh than all the other podcasts, the Chris Van Vliets and everything else that you kind of hear all around, and kind of do it with like the biggest stars in wrestling. I wanted to be. I am, what a lot of people don't know about me is in my day job, I'm a trained performance coach. So what that means is essentially I can have almost therapy style conversations with people, but it is led by them. So I go into these interviews with zero prep. And I go in and tell them that, where I'm not asking for anything. I'm not looking for headlines. It's not about scandal. I want to know you, the person. And I'm going to let you tell me that. And I'm going to be steered by it. And every time someone comes away from it, they go, oh, I wasn't expecting to talk about that. I wasn't expecting to get into that. And I just ended up, but it's a positive experience. It's not meant to be something where I get them to trick them into talking about something they don't want to or anything. They just tend to open up because it's them steering the interview and me just reacting and steering them in certain directions. To set up this interview in specific, every interview that I'd done with the Ring Psychology podcast, LJ Cleary had been brought up in a prominent way because that's the influence that he has on Irish wrestling. So I was like, I'd said to him when we were organizing this, and it unfortunately we were talking about it just around when he got injured last year, his first ever injury. So he was taking a well-earned break from wrestling at the time, and kind of just, and he speaks about that in the interview. But like, I wanted to hear kind of his perspective on things as well. And I wanted to hear it firsthand as well, because I worked with LJ for a few years in Fight Factory. He refers to it a couple of times throughout that as well. We never got to sit down, and it was a regret of mine from my time in Fight Factory that I never got to sit down and get close to him and have these kind of conversations, because he's got a lot to say, and a lot of other people have had that experience, but me and him, we just never kind of got a chance to, and that's just the way it is in wrestling. Jerry, you're doing a
Yeah.
show, off doing his thing, I'm off doing mine. So I was dying to sit down and kind of get to just like, just to chat to him for a bit and chat about here kind of his passion and stuff. And he delivered in spades. He was absolutely fantastic. There was not one subject that was off. There were things that I was like, I don't know know if I should ask about that. Like Lyra Valkyria, his fiance, for example. I don't want to come on and be like, tell us all the secrets about Lyra, or anything like that as well. I was like, I'm not going to ask about that unless he brings it up. But then he's like, yeah, here's where our relationship was challenging and stuff like that as well. And he just gets into it. Like, he just speaks so openly, so honestly. He was an absolute gentleman with his time. He now lives between Dublin and obviously America. So he made time for this interview. We did it in the Fight Factory just a few weeks ago. He made time during an extremely busy trip home. He just made his return to OTT, to wrestling, a few days beforehand. And he made time for this interview and gave me all the time that kind of I had. And I wanted to be respectful of that too. But he gave me everything that I could have asked for. He's an absolute gentleman. So, guys, I'm going to set this up now. This is my conversation with LJ Cleary. It's absolutely fascinating, and I genuinely believe it's going to be something that we're going to look back on in the not too distant future, and we're going to be like, oh, because LJ's going places fast, and you can kind of get a feel for how quickly things are moving for him, but also how his feet stay on the ground throughout all of it. So, guys, I'm not going to waste your time. We'll hand you over. This is the conversation I had a few weeks ago with the one and only LJ Cleary.
LJ Cleary, thank you so much
Here we are.
for joining us on Low Blows. I know it's a busy time for you.
Yes.
You've squeezed us in, and it's usually appreciated. In the interest of kind of respecting your time, I'll cut right to it, okay? I'm going to ask you a question, and what I want you to do is, well, it's not even a question. I'm just going to give you a word or a statement, okay? What I want you to do is give me the first three words that come to mind. They don't have to be connected, and then we can go into more as we go.
Okay.
Don't worry, it's not a trick.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for having me as well. I do appreciate. Thanks for having me as well.
It's
okay, three words.
Three words. First three things that come to mind.
Yeah.
2025.
Growth. Grateful. And incredible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of those three words that you picked, which one interests you the most? Which one are you like, I actually want to get in and talk a little bit about that?
Maybe the grateful aspect. Okay. I was kind of leaning towards growth, but I was like, I think if I touch on grateful, they're kind of intertwined a little bit.
Yeah.
Being grateful for the year. So yeah, 2025 was my 12th year in wrestling. So in February of 2026, I'll be 13 years in.
Wow.
So it's my 12th year since I started training wrestling. And it was one with a bit of like a slight bit of caution going into it, purely based off the 2 year, or like each year before was so good. And it got topped each time. So like, I go back a bit, like 2023, so even like 2022 like is when I really felt like I was hitting my stride. Post pandemic, as a singles wrestler, I wrestled Pac for the AW International title. I had my favourite match of all time against Matt Cardona. I was like, okay, that was the year I also wrestled the most that year. I've had 102 matches. I was like, okay, don't know if it's going to get any better than that. 2023 came, a lot of momentum continued into the year around Europe, and then by October I had gone to Japan for my first tour of Pro Wrestling Noah. That year ended, I was like, wow. And I came back for Christmas that year after 14 weeks in Japan. I was like, wow, don't know if next year's gonna get any better. Then 2024 was tours 2, 3 and 4 in Japan. Also debuted for New Japan, a New Japan Dominion, from the 7,000 people. Got to be in there with Zack Sabre Jr., someone who, for me as a wrestler, someone I really look up to. Wrestled at Corrigan Hall multiple times. Again, popped back to Europe a little bit. Got to wrestle my best friends. I wrestled Nick Nemeth at OTT, and then again that year ended, and I was like, oh well, where 2025 was. It was like the collection of that over those 3 years. I was like, I don't know, it's going to be tough, but so 2025, I based the move was made to base myself in Orlando, and I'm sure if anyone does know me listening to this, you'll probably know this, but even if you don't. Everyone's very, very aware. My fiancee is Lyra Valkyria. We've been together 11 years. We met in Fight Factory, and she moved over in 2022. And it was very much of a conversation where I kind of got I got sick of people asking me, "Are you going over? Are you going over? Are you going over?" And I was like, "Well, yes, that is definitely going to happen." Me being the dream of wrestling fan I've always been. I was always very aware that moving to America had to happen at some point, but. Again, like I said, in 2022, it was at the point where that that it was all clicking the right way, and I was like, if I just move now, like I'm like cutting off all my own momentum. And it wasn't as public then how much I wanted to go to Japan, but that was really my goal post pandemic. So that also led to, like, you know, 2.5 years of a long distance relationship, and like it was tough, as anyone can imagine. But at the same point, we're so strong that while it was tough, it was also easy in the sense of both understanding, you know, the job, or however you want to put it, which is, I'm very, very grateful that to have that in a relationship. But the move was, like, the decision was made, okay, early 2025, that's what I'll do. I did my last tour of Japan up till now in January, so that's even crazy when I think that I started off last year in there. Like New Year's Eve, like I was in Japan, rest at Nippon Budokan, New Year's Day, like incredible. Do the tour, come home to Ireland for the month of 3 weeks of February, you know, see my mates, do a bit of coaching, rest around Europe, and then I go. And I was still a good bit back and forth over the year. There would be some stints to be longer. I might pop home for 5 days at some point to do one show, or I might, alright, there's a good month of work there in Europe, I'll go. But you know, primarily my life moved to the States. I'm not like a permanent resident there, but like that's my base now.
Yeah.
And going from the relationship and the career side, well now, like, this is our first time living together. So that's like after again, that was our, we got engaged in September 2024. Thank you. And then the challenge of, I was very much up for the challenge, and I was very much looking forward to it. I was kind of approaching like the US scene, and I'm like, well, nobody knows who I am. This is complete blank slate. Great. So to kind of end the year there, when me and Lyra, we were in our house, and it was like, it felt like the kind of first time of the year we both kind of just like decompressed for a few days. That was a real, like, not to be dramatic, but it was a real moment of like looking around and being like, I'm grateful. Probably if there was a better word for it, I would say it, but that was what I was feeling, and that's probably the best way I can describe 2025. And that's before even getting into the details of like having WWE tryout and like debuting here, flying here, wrestling in Canada, and all this stuff. But that is probably the best way I could really sum it up, because that was the life aspect of it that made it all worth it. Because it wasn't an easy decision to make. Again, like I said, I always knew I was gonna move or base in the States, but things were going well in Japan. And it was a very, like, wasn't easy. Like, I had to be very confident in myself that when I make this move, like, I'm making the most of this, and I feel like I did. Again, especially when, you know, I was there 4 months, and then like the trial came up. I was like, okay, well, I guess if there's any indication that this is at least somewhat moving in the right direction, this is it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a story, and I can't wait to kind of tip into the bits there as well. But the question, I suppose, that comes to mind for me is, I felt what you're saying there in terms of, from just watching you from afar and just seeing, like, last year, I kind of followed all the steps up towards like that, but last year felt like something, you clicked into an extra gear.
Yeah.
Things just started moving in a forward momentum there.
I agree.
Then obviously you had the injury and probably some enforced like rest and downtime to just take stock of.
That was essentially what it was. The you know, like I'm as of this weekend gone. It's Monday now. Like, it was my first 2 shows back. I'm all good, all healthy. Good. But you know, essentially, what you can give any sort of medical diagnosis what happened. Basically, what I got told was like, please rest for just like 2.5 months. That was it, and I did need it. And there was a lot of elements that was obviously very difficult, because, you know, like, anyone that knows me, even from like the small relationship that we have, was probably very aware that like I was losing my mind, not being able to wrestle, not being able to train, do all this stuff. But the 2.5 months to 3 months, whatever it was, that I was off, again, there was a lot of real life stuff that I was able to get done. Nice. That I don't think it wouldn't have happened because. So even that, like, I got injured at the beginning of October, and I still had 83 matches. Like, and I was on track, like, to break like what I'd done before. But to have done that, like, but then still have 3 months off, I'd had such a good year that I think I was somewhat able to at least be like, oh, it'll be alright. And I was getting preoccupied with some of the real, like, positive real life stuff to get done, that the schedule I had lined up before I just wouldn't have been able to do it. So I think it was kind of the universe just been like, oh, just take a sec, do it. All right, you're good now.
You probably hadn't even had a chance to unpack since you moved to the States because you were so busy.
Yeah.
You're like, I have to live here. Like, I better enjoy
I
it.
can actually, that's not. It's no exaggeration. I actually can tell you that I did not properly unpack. Oh no, like my big suitcase.
Yeah.
Till November.
Wow.
And I went over in February.
That's wild. But look, that and I guess kind of where my thought process is leading towards is. It's now 2026. You're back as of this weekend. We're recording this obviously early January.
Yeah.
Just made your return. How does it feel now you're kind of going on that momentum, topping a year after year? Is it starting to get to the point where you're like, oh, I actually have a pressure now because every year is topping each other? Or do you feel like, no, I'm actually on a trajectory now and there's a momentum going and it's just my job to carry it over the line? Is that where's your head at in terms of 2026?
I think the way you said it would maybe make sense for like an audience to understand, or maybe even like another wrestler, the word pressure. But I definitely, for me anyway, like I 100% strive under like big pressure situations. But also because a lot of the big pressure ones I've been in, I have, probably pushed to be in that position. But out of pure, like, confidence. But then the pressure to me turns into, well, like, you better deliver now. Like, I've again, fortunate to do a lot of, like, wrestle a lot of big names and da-da-da. And, specifically, I remember, it's just because I was only watching it recently, it got uploaded for free, the match with Nick Nemeth, where, I had a conversation with, Joe runs OTT, and when it came together, I remember when and I wasn't like, cause people ask me, do you get nervous? And I was like, I don't know, like, I do always get the little, like, like, oh, my music is a 20-second build-up, so, like, from that 1 second to 19, like, that's where, like, the rush comes, and you get, like, the little butterflies, whatever. But I was very calm that day, and I'm generally very calm. I don't get stressed out. I really try not to, even when I'm in high stress situations like travel and stuff like that, I just really try not to. I remember seeing Nemeth like walk into the building, and I was just like, I kind of got like a bit of a rush of adrenaline. And again, my thing was like, okay, well, like, you asked for this, like you better make sure it's good. So because now in a good way, especially in Ireland and Europe, and I'm very flattered to have this, I feel there's expectation. I feel like because of the body work I've put in, there is an expectation if I'm on the main of a Five Factory show, like, because people have seen what's been done before, like, so, and luckily, like, Irish and European fans are so passionate that, there's no, like, arms crossed, like, well, let it show me. But then it's like, it's very satisfying feeling when you know that you have kind of exceeded the now, not in a big-headed way, but potentially bigger expectation. And regarding like momentum and a trajectory, like, yeah, I would say momentum is something that I really felt 2025, it hit. And it was from conversations with other people. It was one with my fiancee during the summer, she was like, I don't know what it is now, like, she said, because she was like, obviously you've always done well, but she's like, there's something that's after changing in the last few months. Like, she was like, I can't put my finger on it. I think I know what I think I kind of know what it is, or at least I feel like I can maybe put it into words that I've always been, from early days, from like when I was 16, 17 doing gym shows out in Five Factory in Bray. Once, obviously, I'm so obsessed with wrestling, like in the school, as many days as I can, I'm still like that. And that's where, they have to be like, can you take a bit of a rest, please. Where I always felt, even in front of the literal, like, crowds of 10 or 20, I remember I was very, especially coming from Five Factory, I think the focus and why the school is known, and it's because we do it the best, is like, we produce excellent wrestlers. And especially on the technical side of things, like, I would stand by it. I think, like, in the world, it's one of the best schools if you want to go and, like, be taught, like, an incredible foundation and basis of wrestling. But so while I got all that, I always felt like when I would try things, like, my personality would always kind of be the thing that would be remembered, because again, I was like 16, 17, like, I'm not big now, right, but like, I look in shape, but I was a skinny teenager, and I remember I would go out on these small shows and I'd be loud and I'd try to be funny, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it wouldn't. And I always felt again, very lucky that, like I said, I don't really get stressed. From when I was younger, I was always quite confident. Now, I wasn't the loudest person in the room, but I had no problem going up in school, talking in front of the class, doing any of that. And that, I think, really pushed through on a small scale. So I always felt I had, not at the begin. I wouldn't say at the beginning I had like a great audience connection, but I had no fear in trying to get it, you know. And then as we kind of swooped into like 2017, 18, like OTT Contenders days, I felt when it was, you know, there was a kind of group of 5 of us that were all getting really good opportunities, suited to their kind of style. Like Michael May was wrestling Doug Williams and Joe Coffey, because that suited his style, you know. But I was wrestling like Dave Mastiff because he was the big lad that was going to slap this little annoying teenager around. And in those moments, that's when I started to feel like, oh, there definitely is a bit of connection here. Or it was like the reactions were being like, oh, he's kind of one of our guys. And I used to be like, oh, that's good because it's in Ireland. Obviously, they're going to kind of look at us that way. And then as we went, I was in More Than Hype, and you know, the 3 of us had a really good like dynamic together that I think kind of just bled out to audiences. So this is a very long-winded answer, I know. I'm a proper, like, I'll go on for ages. And then the pandemic happened, and then it was post-pandemic when I was on my own, and there was a kind of rough 6 months where I was like, what am I, like, you know, I still had MTH in my gear. I'd gotten in better shape, but I just didn't, like, I don't know, there was something, I was just like, oh, the one that was in the group, and then it was subtle changes, you know. It was like, I changed the design of my gear, I started wetting my hair, and it's funny because only recently, like, JD McDonough, like formerly Jordan Devlin, he did, and he brought it up to me recently. He was like, I told you for years to wet your hair, and he did, okay, like, and he was right in the end. But I still stand by, if I had have wet my hair when I was 16, 17, I would have looked like ratty, you know. I wasn't in shape enough. But
earned the
I did. So then, you know, like, wet hair, jacket, slight gear change, a little bit more aggression, but still very much so. But I remember a lot of people, and I'm very glad I stuck by this because changes were needed, right? A lot of people were telling me, you change your music, it's worn out, and I was like, I don't think so. I was like, I just don't think so yet. But the reason that happened was because it was in 2022. So the Beautiful Life came from the movie A Night at the Roxbury, you know, with Will Ferrell. I wasn't even born when it came out. I listened to it, I was like, that's a good song. Played it because I thought it was a good song. Then in More Than Hype, it was like, oh, well, he's Handsome Darren, he's Psycho Nathan, why are you? Oh, living his beautiful life. It was just a moniker. But then it was in 2022 that things that sounded click. I always remember I was on a plane, I was going to France, I was like, shuffling Spotify, the song comes on, and I won't sit there listening to the song. I've heard it, you know, I hear it all the time. I do love it, and it really, this again, maybe sounds a bit over dramatic, but like it really hit me. I was like, oh my god, I was like, I'm 2022, so I was 23. I was like, I'm 23, and like this is just so normal for me to be flying around the world. And I was like, it is a beautiful life. And I was like, oh, I was like, that's like, that is me. I was like, I am quite a positive person. It's all like, because for me, with indie wrestlers, I'll always kind of look for, if you have a moniker or you know, a gimmick or whatever it may be, I would kind of want it to be, like if I said, I'm the badass LJ Cleary, okay? If I came out the way I did, like, it doesn't match. Like, it doesn't match. But when I say, if someone sees me for the first time and they say living is a beautiful life and I come out the way I do, I think that makes sense. And that really clicked, and that's when I started going very like entrance like into some shows. I've gotten in trouble for it sometimes, where the entrance goes on for way too long and stuff, but it's the thing that got me that connection. And as time went on and on, I went to Japan, I got put in the good looking guys faction, which I was like great, because I think the approach I had for it was, when I was training over there, that's where I would show off like my skill, however you want to call it, and would kind of impress them that way. But I got put in a group where I feel like a lot of wrestlers easily could be like, great, like I'm in a faction in Japan, like I'm gonna like be the champion or whatever. And obviously we all want to be that. But I was like, oh, in my head I was like, in this group, these lads are good looking. That's not me saying I'm ugly, but I was like, I think I should think I'm good looking. I think I should think I'm like this, but I'm not. So I'll be the one that comes in and like tries to muck around and gets slapped. And all this kind of like that stuff built, and again the audience like connection would build and build, and it really, like, a lot of, from being in that GLG, a lot of my mannerisms and stuff that now are going to be like ingrained into me forever are from being there. And then to wind it back to half an hour ago when you asked me the question, the conversation I had with my fiancee, she was like, something's changed that I don't know. I really do feel, and this is coming from someone who I really pride myself on, like my in-ring ability, like, and I love that, that's really what I love. But I really felt like in my head, like, I can get any audience behind me. I really, or like, and you know, like there's a chance that, you know, there's a very high chance that there's going to be audiences that don't get behind me. But I think it was having the confidence to be like, I know I can do this, and at least if I don't, I've really tried as much as I can. And I feel like that kind of support bled into me into like a different confidence that I don't know how to describe the different confidence, because I've always, like I said, I've always had that in me, but I think that's what the difference was in the momentum, and that feels like it's just went from to even where to the point where when I did get injured, obviously there was a bit of a period of how long that was tough, but when I was like, it's only 3 months, I was like, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be, the momentum won't be affected by this. At least I didn't think it would, and from just this weekend, the past 2 shows, I felt like, okay, I was right, like, it's okay. That's how I would kind of like gauge something kind of changed. At least I really feel it, and it's because I do think it's because I am, you know, if I do, you know, you do other podcasts and the understandable questions like, how did you get into wrestling? It's like, well, I have the most cliche answer ever. Loved it as a kid, obsessed. I'm gonna do it. Did it. But and a lot of times for indie wrestlers, especially when it does come to things like tryouts and opportunities, and I would agree, even as a fan and a wrestler here, people are sick of hearing, you know, this is my dream, like, I worked really hard to do this, because everyone works hard. Like, you're like, if I'm on a tryout, like, everyone's here for a reason. But I kind of channeled that part of me into the beautiful life thing, and that's how I would kind of navigate explaining that without saying, I work so hard, because like, nobody wants to hear that. That's why I feel like I have a good audience connection, even just from speaking to people at a merch table, and I love a merch table. Because I am that, like, there's no part of me that's hiding this part of me being a fan, like that how much I love it. Like, I'll get into conversations with other fans at shows and stuff, and I think that might be the thing that gave me that push.
You've actualised yourself. From what I'm hearing there, it's like, I remember I was talking to someone, now I'm no one to give advice on wrestling, but it was actually like, I was at a low lows party. There was someone who was starting out and training, they're actually in Fight Factory, and they're like, I'm really struggling with character and stuff like that as well. And I'm like, stop trying to think, I go, just listen to what other people respond to you for, and it'll just happen. Like, stop trying to like force something into existence and a cool idea. None of those things work. Like, even if it's not wrestling, it's just brand, it's who you are. Like, the world will tell you who you are, you just have to be smart enough to listen and then just capture. That's what it sounds like. You were just like, right, I have these cool things and people react to it, but then you just actualize, and it just led to it rolling down the hill. I'm gonna get into a little bit of the cliche question. So you kind of brought it up here. But maybe a little bit of a spin with it. Do you remember the first time? Do you remember what's your earliest memory of watching wrestling? What are you watching? Where are you? What's going on?
The actual earliest memory I remember is would have been so I'm from the Liberties in Dublin. I grew up in flats there, and I just remember seeing Brock Lesnar's head. But now it definitely wasn't like this, but I feel like I remember just being zoomed right up on his head. And so that was like 02, so I would have been like 3, and I remember I was like, oh, that's terrifying. And then, you know, I do have snippets of like, I remember seeing, this is a weird one, I remember seeing Shawn Michaels in the NWO shirt.
Right.
Do you remember when, like, I remember seeing that. And then, I know, and that's such a weird one. And then as it kind of got to like 2003, I'm watching it, and I'm like 4, so I don't really like understand, but I'm watching, I'm attracted to, you know, whether it's the entrances, I think that's what it was, like, obviously the larger than life characters, like, they're always kind of what grabs you first. And I remember, and this is like I'm talking to like my parents and stuff as well, I did understand, like, I would watch and, you know, I would cheer because I heard the crowd cheering, or I'd, like, you know, boo at the TV because there was a bad guy. But supposedly when Word Life John Cena would come out, I would like him when he was a bad guy. And then, but again, like, that's kind of their faded memories. But then I would say by really end of 04 into 2005 is when I'm 05 now. I'm like 6. I started to get it, and by Mania 21, when Cena and Batista, the 2 world champions, I'm like, they're Mike. I was like, they're the best. I was like, and by then, by 05 to 07, I love it. And then by 2007, by WrestleMania 23, that's my favorite. It was always my favorite WrestleMania. That is when like it was obsession forever. Nice. It just never like left then. So Brock Lesnar's head.
Brock Lesnar's head. Yeah. I love it. What is so you've really never known an existence
without
that you can remember. The wrestling hasn't been in your life.
No,
it's
just bizarre. Yeah.
Permanently there. What is it, do you think, that made that kid that you can remember in that life with the flashes of other things that you'd have? What is it, do you think, that made you go, that's the thing for me? Is it just the bright lights? Is it was louder than everything else? Yeah. It's like, I'm just gonna follow it.
Yeah. I do think it was like, so like, a lot of my interests come from my uncle, who would be in his late 40s. So right. Like a lot of people joke with me, they'll say like, I'm a bit of an old soul in like the TV shows and movies I like and stuff, because a lot of them are kind of 80s, 90s inspired, because that's what my uncle got me into. So he got me into wrestling, and he's an 80s kid, so he loved Hogan, and I remember getting there's a 4-disc Hogan DVD. It's called The Ultimate Anthology.
Oh yeah.
I remember getting that on my 8th birthday. So obviously now I'm fully again understanding what's going on here. Yeah. That's 2007. So like the obsession is big. So up until then, I do think it was maybe a bit of the generic, like it just, it was just like I think maybe the presence of the people on the screen. You just can't, you can't turn it off. Like I couldn't turn it off. And then because I also liked action movies, I really liked, I really loved Bruce Lee. So I had a big interest in like martial arts movies. So when you're a kid, I'm like, well, this is kind of the same to me, because I'm like, it's fight, they're fighting, so it's kind of the same. Yeah. And then I would say, I remember when I got that DVD. This is a very, like, I remember this so clearly. On my 8th birthday, go home with the DVD, watching it. My ma is asleep on the couch, like she's like lying down on the couch, and on the 3rd disc of the DVD is Rock Hogan at WrestleMania 18, and I remember watching it, and I remember, in my opinion, like to me, I think that's the best pro wrestling match ever, like in my opinion. Nice. But I remember watching that, and whoever I was reacting to, because I'm actually, the crowd was going crazy the whole match. I remember, because at this point I'm still a kid, I also was very much, I wanted to believe this was all real, and I was like, I don't know what it was about that match, but why did that one feel different? And then again, that's when I was now I have a stupid wrestling DVD collection, like buying everything, watching everything. But I do think it was being grabbed from the kind of intangible, larger than life characters up until that point, and then seeing that exact example made me be like, oh, I can't understand why this is making me feel that way, but I know it is. So now I kind of need more. I want more of it. And then the next time I got that on a match was probably, I was 10 now, so I'm a good bit older. It was Taker Michaels. I'm only 25. I was like, but what was it about that? Like that? Like why did that one make me feel? Because they're the ones where you're jumping out of your seat. Oh, but yeah, I think just it is the on-screen presence of some of these people. So I always say to my people, ask who's your favorite wrestler? My 3 favorite wrestlers are like all different and for different reasons, and it's like Jericho, because like Jericho's first book is the reason I started to be like, I wanted to be a wrestler. Oh, wow. Like that's why I was like, oh, no, I remember I closed and I was like, I'm gonna do it, like if he can do it the way he's written this, the way he's explained, because it was the journey. Because in the first book he's in Mexico, he's in Japan, he's in Canada, and the first book ends, like the last page is he's behind the curtain before the first WWE debut, and it made me fall in love with the journey element of it. But before that, like John Cena's childhood hero. Like I don't become obsessed without John Cena, and that travelled up until now. And then my third would always be, I was very fortunate to be able to tell him this, would be Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder, and because he kind of showed me, and again, like, I was so happy to tell him this, because when his big rise happened in 2011, the initial one, it was like, now I'm on the, I'm 12, I'm on the internet, I'm starting to understand and listen to podcasts and read books, and I know how this works. I was like, oh, he like wasn't picked. I remember I was like so mind blown, like, he wasn't picked and he did it. So all for such different reasons, they were the people. But I think those reasons I said, like obviously with the Cardona one, I couldn't understand that when I was a kid. The Jericho one, I couldn't understand that when I was a kid, but like superhero John Cena.
Yeah.
That I can understand that because it's like, you know, a character is all the time, you know, the good guy, but just, and it's also something I was very fortunate to tell him in person too. That I said, you know, you inspired me as a child and a wrestler, you know, and I said not just on screen, not just your values on screen, but I try to take them very much out into my real life, and I've always tried to be like that. And I was just like, I'm not like, you know, it was very brief, but I was like, you know, I've got to do amazing things for a kid from Dublin, and it doesn't happen without him. It's like him and Jericho are very like that for me. Like it doesn't happen without him, and that doesn't, you know, I don't read Jericho's book if it's not for falling in love with wrestling to Cena, and then if I don't start, I don't understand the inner workings to love Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona.
So you closed Jericho's book, and you're like, I'm going down, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You started quite young.
Yeah.
Who's that kid walking into? Was it Fight Factory time?
Yeah.
Right?
No, it was Fight
who's
Factory.
that kid walking into, and like, what was that like when you started? Do you remember your first day? Do you remember kind of how you picked it up? Were you natural, or how did that go?
So I remember, like, you know, I started in February 2013, and I was 13. That is a no now. You have to be 16. Anyone's watching and you're reaching out to any skills, it's a hard 16. I just snuck in. I'm glad. It's time I was 16, I had like 3 years experience.
Different time.
Yeah, it was a different time. And you know, I walked in and, you know, you see a ring for the first time. Oh my god, it's the best thing ever. You know, I meet Phil as my coach, Phil, Kay and Michael. They're the 3 people that are still here now that were there. And I actually, so, you know, we just, back then, and it's, you know, it's a pro and con, I think, that it's not like that now. Like, it's a lot more structured now, which is definitely better for the business side of things. Because I just went down, and it was like, you know, my parents brought me down, and they always say to me, you know, like, Phil is my head coach, and I'm like eternally grateful for everything like he's ever done for me. But even from day one, because again, like, you know, most wrestling gyms are grungy, you know, backing out, like during the, like, you have to go in this alley to find them and all, and the Bray gym was exactly like that. You know, it's a close shore, like, and there's a pub here, and you walk down, and then the gym's there. You know, I'm 13, like, I'm so young, and I remember my mom being like, "Oh my god, like, what, you know, what are you doing?" But they were always they always liked wrestling, so they were always very supportive. But instantly, after a very quick conversation with Phil, they were so put at ease.
Nice.
Like, oh, you'll be looked after.
Yeah.
And but when I say the different structure, I just jumped in. It's like you just join. Like, this was a class, you know, there was maybe about 12, 15 people there at the time, and like, you just are there. You just jump in, like, as if you're doing it a year. You know, now it's like we've got the beginners courses, and then you move up, and again, that definitely objectively is better. But so you know, or jump in, I'm doing squats and push-ups and all, and oh my god, I don't know, I literally no muscle on me. Like, this is like, I've never done anything like this, but I'm trying, I'm doing everything, I'm loving it, I'm just so happy to be there. And I always remember the first bump that I took was, I only retold Phil this recently, it was because it's quite funny, where we did a warm up, and it was just like, right, like, everyone up in the ring, and again, I'm just, well, this is just how you do it, like, get him on the ring. And he was doing something like, we're going to do tag teams, taking control of someone, so it would be like, I get whipped out my corner, and then his tag partner in the middle gives me back elbow. Right? So I watched like 4 people do it, and I just get in, and right as I get hit and I'm falling, like, Phil's reaction to me there, he's like, oh my god, he's like, you haven't been shot at the bump yet, like, he was like, oh, I'm sorry. But, you know, I had a conversation with Ace Steele, who the school I train at all the time in Orlando, about this, where he was like, you know, you watch enough wrestling, especially when you're obsessed with it, and you're watching and you're reading and you're listening. By no means, like, sure, I didn't take the most perfect backbone, but I was kind of like, I can at least try to emulate it, you know, a little bit. That, like, I didn't get hurt on that or anything, nothing. Like, in theory, someone on day one that just gets in and does it straight away should. And so when you say, like, was I a natural, I don't know, because I think I was so young that I was, like, very fearless, so, and I was small, so I was athletic, and I very quickly, I would say after about a year, it not that it clicked, because it kind of clicks on different levels over the years. Like, something that clicked last year is not something that clicked year one. I don't know if natural is the word, but someone else You ask Katie, she'll tell you. She
might,
you know, like. But I remember I very quickly. I always say when I'm coaching about like chain wrestling, however you want to describe it, that you either are gonna love this, you're either gonna fall in love with it, or you're gonna despise it. You just won't, because some people just naturally it's harder, and that's all right. But I fell in love with it very quickly, and so therefore I was pushing myself to practice it all the time. And I do think even if a wrestler isn't a technical wizard, like if you get a good basis of that, like it kind of like fixes all little problems. If you're having like footwork problems here, this here, you get good at that. Even just like a base level, it kind of fixes everything. So I think and it was about 6 months in, maybe, it was me and Michael's first training match together, and Finn Balor was down, and he watched it, and kind of from then is when, like, you know, me and Michael would do everything together, and he at that point, you know, had been there a year. He was there like 6 months before me, so when I was 6 months in, he was about a year ahead. And he was definitely more natural with like the footwork and stuff. Not that I don't think I was like an all over the place person. Again, I was just also growing at the same time. So I was kind of following him to be like, oh, he's so good at this. And then I felt like over years we kind of pulled each other up in the sense that he was kind of the first person I saw be like have a strong work ethic. Because he'd tell me, oh, I was working in the garage last night until 7 in the morning, and then, you know, then I did this, I went to college and I came here. I was like, wow. He would go to England and train, and then, you know, that's just what I did. I know, like, Lyra was the same with Michael, but then, you know, like, he kind of pulled us up there, and then I very much over the years kind of pulled him up, maybe on the more, like, personality side of things, because I had a much more natural, stronger one. You'd have to ask Kate if I was a natural. I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had a hardcore match, training match on my first day.
Hardcore match?
2004 was another different era. It was
that Irish whip?
Yeah. It was bad. It's like literally the trainer.
Was that a skill around the corner?
Yes.
Really?
It was. Yeah. Literally, trainer slept there, and I broke his bed because I did a bump on it offstairs on the first day. So it's a different era.
Wow.
And look, it's safer these days, and thanks for that. Thank God for that. But you get good stories. You've kind of always had wrestling be an omnipresence within your life. And was there ever a time where you weren't sure? Was there ever a time where you were like, oh, maybe this isn't for me, maybe it's not going to work out, maybe it's or have you always been like, no, this is what I do, this is my identity, and I actually don't know who I am if not for wrestling? Like, well, how's that? So has there ever been doubts?
So that's no. Okay. To answer that, I was going to be like, oh, there's kind of two questions there. No, never any doubts. I've never had the moment where, is this not for me? Is this? I think you can have like doubts within the thing, but within wrestling, but that's about specific things. But regarding the bigger picture, some people might listen and think that I'm lying, because I understand that a lot of people do go through that, but never. There's never been one day where I wasn't like, this is the thing that I'm going to do. And, you know, unfortunately, I've kind of had that in me from a young age. But especially, I would say, and by the time we got to the pandemic, I was like already like 6-7 years in, which was crazy. But really during the pandemic, where that was more reinforced than ever, I remember every single day, you know, because that was a horrible time, you know, like, we're all sitting at home doing nothing, and like, and I you know, even with some people, I understand why they go on about those first 2 weeks. Like, it was great. No, I hated it. I hated it. But I remember during the pandemic, like, that was when that's when I think I started becoming smart to wrestling. Was that year and maybe year and a half, whatever it was. Every day I would just watch hours and hours. I already did that anyway, but I was watching hours and hours of wrestling. And even at that time, when obviously I'm hoping I wanted to be back tomorrow, hopefully this can happen in this one, hopefully this can happen, there was never one point, and that's where I feel like it happened to a lot of people, you know, because it was so good before that, especially here. Never, every day I was just like, okay, it's not today, it's not back yet, but it will be. And when it is, like, I'm going to be ready. I was like, I'm going to be one of the only people ready. And yeah, you said there, you know, is it your identity? I mean, on the surface, like, yes, I mean, that would make sense, because like, that's, you know, that's how people would label me, which, again, it would be right. Because how could they not even like?
Yeah.
But it started
from an outsider perspective more than anything. But yeah, you've obviously got like a full life.
Yeah, it's not me disputing it, but I'm like, I could, because it's probably, I think I can like be aware that it might not be the healthiest thing to say like I'm nothing without wrestling, but it's kind of true in the sense. But it's kind of true, but I've also never thought of it that way.
Okay.
Like I've never thought that I won't have it.
Okay.
Now I have had thoughts of I got injured, like, well now it's taken away, but I can still go coach, I can still do this, I can still be around. So I'm not like, realistically, yes, it is my identity, and I feel like someone that knows me listens to this might be like, what, like, how are you even dispute? Like, how is there even any little kind of like, it is my identity, and if it was not in my life, I don't know what I would do. But I've never thought about it that way. I've never had the like, what would I do if it's not? Because I'm like, well, it is. And I can't see it not being, and until it isn't, like, I'm not going to think about it that way. And
it doesn't need to be, like, again, God forbid, worst case scenario, like, you know, you have a career-ending injury or something like that. It's not as if there's not other things you can do. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can do interviews, you can do anything, you can coach. There's so many different things. So it's not something that realistically you'll ever need to deal with. Then, kind of a question for the coach side of you. Do you feel that is... I'm very interested in what it takes to succeed, and you're in that very you're succeeding. You're not at the end. You're in the story part of it, where like
I'm in Jericho book 1 now.
You're in book 1. But you're experiencing that now. Is that what people need in wrestling to kind of get to the top? Because what I like about Fight Factory, and one thing that I really respect, and why I try signal boost you guys as much as possible, is there's a respect for, you know, you don't have to be, there was that old school attitude of you gotta want to be the champ kid or get out of the business. You know, you guys are like, no, if this is a hobby for you, come down and be a hobby, stuff like that as well. But to get to the top, do you feel that kind of encapsulation of your life is what someone needs to kind of adopt?
In my opinion, because that's all I've ever known, and anyone I've, you know, rubbed shoulders with that's done it, that's the way they are. Now it's not me. Obviously, we actively we see who comes before us and we kind of try to follow the path, but we can follow the path and like do XYZ that they did, but it still has to be in you, like to have that feeling. So someone that is, you know, more successful than me, that I might be kind of chasing, like to get to their point, might think about that stuff differently, but they still have that in them. That, you know, I would call it like manic obsession. Like I am obsessed, and like you said, I do think it's one of the best things that, you know, Fight Factory does as well. Is if you walk in the door, it's whatever you want from this. You want to have one match, no problem. You want to just do Ireland, you want to just do Europe, you want to get to wherever, Japan, we will assist you as much as possible to do that. But I do think, for me, it's if someone claims, like I do naturally, I will drift more towards like the people who are chasing it as a career. I think it's because I can speak to them better. It took me a long time and it was a bad quality, and even like sometimes I still can't like change it. I couldn't understand why people would just do it as a hobby, right? But that's not right. That's just me, because again, it's my be all end all. It's who it's my identity. So now I'm very much so, I try and will preach when I am home to be like, it needs to work both ways. That the people like me need to understand that, you know, person over there is only here maybe for their, you know, as a hobby, they like to do on the weekends, that's fine. Like, don't hold them to the same standard, because that's not good, because then and then vice versa as well though. This is where sometimes, I don't think it's an issue, but let's say for example we have like Thursdays like advanced day, and it's labeled as like this is the advanced day. So someone who, even if they're getting really good, and sometimes that's where you can change it. Someone could start as a hobby, but then they start getting really good and like, oh, actually this could work. If someone is just coming into as a hobby, that's great, but then they need to understand that, well, there's people here that are like, this is their whole lives. So, you know, maybe even small things, if they see someone get annoyed at something in themselves, and I'm like, that might make them feel uncomfortable. Like, it's okay. Like, that's just because that's how they are about it. I think that really needs to work both ways. Again, I was not the best for understanding that, and honestly, sometimes still part of me that I still don't get it. I still don't understand it, but that's
why would you not want to do this? It's so cool.
That's
like, it's nice though. It doesn't seem like you're being an asshole or not understanding. It just seems what comes across to me is your infectious enthusiasm.
Yeah, it's
this is so cool. Everyone should want to do this.
Yeah, like I said, the manic obsession. So I do think like when certain people get to a certain point where they're looking at next stages, next level. I mean, I'm wearing this t-shirt. I know you're talking like CBL, which is a great example. When it kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, what do you really want to do with this now? You need to be obsessed with it. But I say need, and again, for me, I'm saying need, but when I feel like when we say that you need to do something, it kind of will make someone think that you need to go to work. You need to do the washing, you need to do this. The things we don't want to do, but we need to do them. But the need, I'm saying, to be obsessed has never felt like a chore.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, do you have that in you? And people can make it, they can make themselves switch to that, but just from, at least the people I've been around, I feel like the ones that do push through, they already have that in them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I don't explain that.
I think it's really good, and I think when you reference the CBL interview, that's something I got, because again, his story is quite different to yours in that he's like, I was shit when I started. You know what I mean? But he didn't even stop. No, but he said it himself. But he didn't stop. There was no kind of, and I'm like, did you not think, oh, this might be for me? And he's like, no, I'm gonna get good at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see that kind of in the people that make it.
He is like. Obviously, he's my friend. He's a very close friend. But like, I would say even when he wasn't, like, CBL, especially in this kind of, let's say, newer generation of the club in Fight Factory, and just the scene, Irish wrestling, however you want to put it, is, I really think, the best example of, like you said it there, like, he was not good for a while.
Yeah.
Like, some people are not good, and then but after a few weeks you see, this is getting better. For a good while. And even when he got like better at that time, it was below standard for where everyone else was, and like, but like there's something in him that like just, and like, not, it's his story, I know he's talked about it, he was jumping through a lot of life hoops with moving and doing all this stuff that, like, I didn't have to do, even if I was naturally better at the beginning. But like, God, like, he just kept coming, and then he was around 2022. I remember it was, again, look, that's the reason I'm saying, like, kind of newer generation. Let's say it's kind of like myself and Michael, Lyra, Phil, and Kay are kind of the ones before. Like, I mean, Mike, wow, like, he's kind of like, something's kind of changed there. And then when that happened, that's when it was just boom, ball on, and like, I really think he's the best current example of like. Sometimes people will ask you for advice, and a lot of the times the best advice is the most basic, and it is like, work hard, show up, right? Because it works, and he is like the best possible proof of that. I would say him and Jay Steins are probably the two, like you show up and you work hard, and have a good attitude and be a nice person, and like, it just will happen, or at least you're going down swinging at that. Again, like, me and like, and in a good way, I think, from the outside looking in, obviously, to, not in a big-headed way, but I don't think it was that surprising to people hear that, like, I was on a tryout.
Yeah.
But only because of what I'd done the last few years. But it might be more surprising that he was on one. But then all that shows as well, if I was here, he was here, and then he just went, and then we're on the same, like. That's the biggest like testament I can give to him, from having that, like I said, where I'll tell people, I think you need to be obsessed, and if that need is like, I need to go training, and I need to do this, and you're saying it like that like, I need to, or I need to go training, like, because I need to get better. That's the difference. and he has that, like, you know.
Yeah. You seem to be very much a product of your environment, and like again, the environment the Fight Factory cultivates. I remember I was chatting to Katie about 6 months ago probably, and she was saying, oh, like, and it was around the time you guys are getting the tryouts and stuff. It's just like, we're gonna lose this, we're gonna lose this, we're gonna lose this, and I'm like, and I turned around and I'm like, Katie, my first show when I worked with you guys was episode 4. I'm like, if you look at the top half of that card, none of those people wrestle anymore. You don't notice it. You just keep churning it out, and that's a product of your environment as well. You obviously you've spoken about it, and again, I don't want to. It's your interview, so I don't want to focus too much on that. But as well, you spoke about you met your partner and your fiance through that as well. How is that in terms of pushing each other to success? Is that something you both get a lot from in terms of like? She's succeeding, you're succeeding, and you just bring each other along and help each other.
Like, and there's an interesting dynamic there that like she actually spoke on an interview. I'm just making sure like I'm not like saying something that, you know, that hasn't been put out by her.
Of course.
Because she got asked when I was at the tryout, you know, it was because of SummerSlam weekend. You know, we saw your fiance, and she was asked like, have you been giving him advice? And she kind of said, he's kind of the one giving me advice, but that's more so like that's kind of, she started a year and a half after me, and then, you know, I would have had a big hand in training her, and also just from being like, she's actually also such a perfect example of, because she's a late wrestling fan, like 16, 17, and then did it and like instantly fell in love with it, and again there was no I need to go to train for her. It was I need to go back. So it is an interesting dynamic in the sense that because I, you know, somewhat would like be one of her coaches, but she's like an actual superstar, you know, like actually been on WrestleMania.
She's a new doll now as well.
She's got fingers and stuff, you know, like she's actual WrestleMania, you know, she's an actual superstar. But I think that kind of dynamic we have is almost one of the best things for our relationship, you know, and it's not manufactured, it's just because that's just the way it's been, like, but she's also like the most humble person ever. There's no sense of ego or big headedness, and then like, because now she can, you know, give, you know, help me in things that I have no idea about because I'm not there, you know, and so when I do get there, well, I've had a lot of help that way, and then when it comes to like the things that I'm stronger at than her, I can help with that, and then just vice versa, and that way it really does work well. And it was something because I you didn't ask me this, but it's something that I would imagine a lot of people may think, or sometimes I get the odd like cheeky fan question about it, right? And I'll laugh off anything, like nothing bothers me. But and we spoke about this only a couple of weeks ago. I was like, there's a, you know, again, like I said, she's a massive superstar. So people will be like, well, how does that make you feel? You know, if I'm on like an indie, and I'm like, well, it's amazing, you know. But I completely get why people could think that. Oh, like they're a couple, and like, you know, one of them's here and the other one's there. Like that is actually a very normal thing to think. That's how we did think like that as humans. And I was just like, that's literally never entered my mind. I've already said to her, I only ever say to her, I was like, the only time I ever get like a little bit jealous is if you're like, oh yeah, I'm on a show around the Orn tonight, you know, or like, oh yeah,
just the cool flex,
you know, that's different, you know. But like when I watch her like walking out at WrestleMania, it's pure joy of like, she did it, and I think we're very together. Like what I do, any success I had is intertwined with her, and vice versa. Like we did it, like we're doing it, and that's really like the kind of strongest in the relationship. I'd love to know, and again we can take this out, don't have to too personal, but like you spoke earlier about like doing crazy long distance, like she's in WWE, her career's starting, and all of that, and then you've just signed up for Noah in Japan. So not only are you like long distance in terms of like where you're based, literally now you're different trajectories. You're time zones. When did you even find time to chat? That must have been like insane. Do you know what? You'd be surprised. The Japan to American time zone suited us better than the Ireland to American time zone, because in the mornings in Japan it would be like 8 o'clock in the evening over there. So I had the same routine basically every morning in Japan if I wasn't wrestling, I'd wake up, I'd walk down about 15 minutes to our closest train station, like cafe. I would sit there and I would call Lyra. We would talk for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Perfect. Her day's ending, mine starting.
Nice.
Be on the phone. And we did that all the time. Or I would watch like, what wrestling do I need to catch up on?
Yeah.
That's what I'd sit there and watch. I would sit there for hours.
Nice.
Every day, basically. And so funny enough, it was more before the year before I went to Japan, when she was over there. That was harder.
Wow.
Like with the communication and stuff. So it wasn't that bad. Like luckily, it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's circle back now to 2025 with kind of the context you filled in. I remember I'm sitting there one night, I'm just watching a random WWE show, and all of a sudden now it's 3 in the morning and I'm doing the Leo pointed meme because I texted Katie, I'm like, I literally think like in the group chat me her Keen have from the All Low Blow show, it's like OMG. I'm like, what the fuck? That must have been wild.
It was. But what was funny about
so cool though.
I was home for 2 weeks. I was here during that time. I had like a few OTTs lined up and a few five factors. So, like I was home for like work, and it was like midweek. But that show would have been on a Saturday, and it was like Wednesday. The idea got thrown out. No, sorry, it was Monday. It was on the Monday. The idea got thrown out, and I kind of had to decide by Wednesday.
Nice.
And I was with a few of the lads when it happened. Only like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
So no one else like knew. Which I didn't have time to tell anyone. I was like, I flew to St. Louis and flew back because I had shows that weekend here. It was cool. Like it was got asked like, do you want to do it? I was like, why not?
Did you know that it was being floated at the time, like, or like did you get the call and it's like, well, we have this thing, and you're just like, okay, I guess I'm going.
Kind of like that. It was about 2 days of back of like again. The idea got said on a Monday. Aoife had said it to me, and then Wednesday was like, all right, well, I have to pick now. And then I flew Friday or something like that.
Now was it a case of, because like WWE are very, you're either in or you're out, you know, you're in the circle or you're not, like was that kind of a start, like from and this is just an outsider view. For me it felt like you started to be now in the circle and acknowledged. They'd acknowledged you on screen and now you'd been a part of the shows. So that's why to me I wasn't surprised when the tryout came. I always kind of knew that, like, look, it's one of those things where if you know the RC and you're like, LJ's going to make it, we're on borrowed time with LJ, every match we're getting. But like, we kind of always feel that way, you know. So it was a case of when, not if, probably, but it didn't surprise me the timing of it, because it felt like now he's in, finally. The door is cracked open and he's going to kick this door down. But was that the reality of it? Did you feel that led to kind of everything else that came from there?
So I can't say for sure. I don't know the exact answer, but I actually don't think the two were linked at all.
Okay.
Honestly, I think the Backlash thing was purely, this will enhance their storyline. And that was it. I really think that's all it was.
Right.
It needs a bit more realism, whatever you want to call it. Put in there. Because the only reason I think I can say that is because my tryout came through Jim Smallman. I think CBL. Through Jim Smallman, who I've known since 2019.
Progress for anyone who didn't know he would have worked there.
So before. Jim is he's like a fantastic, really, really fantastic human being. I just, and the reason I say that is because he only has. And he's been in a position where, like, he's been in a not enviable position in wrestling where, like, you know, he's a booker, he's this, he's that, where, like, fingers get pointed, everyone wants answers, it's your fault, fix it. Right? And that's, I'm sure he's very aware of that, that's the job. But I think, on a personal level, like, he only has good intentions for wrestling and wrestlers.
Right.
I met him in 2019, and it's something we talk about sometimes, like when we see each other. I remember it was Morning Pipes, first progress, big week of course, and Jim popped into the change room. He was like, hey guys, like, you know, introduce himself. He goes, I need to talk to somebody. One of you is just about like some details, you know, like just for notes for commentary, or it was for ring announce, or it was something. And I was like, yeah, I'll come in a few minutes. And went in, and me and Jim sat there and had just kind of talked. We were talking, we had a great conversation, 20 minutes, and no, very nice of him to say this about me. He told me like a few years later, he was like, really, like, he's like, I always was very fond of, like, that conversation, like, it gave me a really good idea of, you know, kind of who you are and stuff. So we stayed in touch a good bit over the last few years, and then I'd send him stuff here, just have this on file or whatever. And then he was the one that contacted me. I think from what I know, he directly like put my name in the hat, and then I got it. So that's why I don't think the two were intertwined. Now it would definitely maybe give the people who had to make the decision more of a chance, because they go, who's this? Oh, he's connect the dots. But something I feel very confident about as a person, or it's not even that, because it's not something I actively try to do. I think it's more the evidence over the years has shown it is I think passion like comes true, like in any room when you're speaking to anyone. In our case it's about wrestling. I've gotten to make connections, and even sometimes I kind of like hate the phrase make connections, because I feel like when we say it, or we say make connections, networking, it only puts it in like it puts it in a box of like because you want something, like you're doing it for a reason, okay? And while yes, like it's all about who you know and not what you know till you know, but a lot of if you're saying that if I was to be in any, even like a foot in any sort of circle, I think it's down to like my personal relationship with people, like some of the people I've got to train with in the last year and meet and talk to, that's by no means like I'm best friends with anyone, but like has gone maybe a little bit more into there's a contact there if there's ever a question or you ever need to. And I think, and if it's just advice if anyone wants to take it on, I do think the why I'm in that position is because while I can acknowledge a situation might help with network and whatever you want to call it, that's not the intention. Like I'm not walking into a room and going, well, he's a porn, I'm gonna go talk to him. Because people will just see that is the most, like, you see it's through it immediately, and now again, and there's some people that can be good at it, but that is I think a mix of that and more the relationship I had with Jim, and then I'm sure the being on Backlash had a factor to play. I think that was more the like, that was him. Right, we'll give it a chance.
And all of it is a culmination of the work you put in. You know what I mean? If you weren't good, none of this happens. No, like if they don't feel hard, like no one's gonna throw you on a pay-per-view for an appearance like on a short notice if they don't feel like you can do it. You know what I mean? So and like again, and the tryout, they're not gonna give you a tryout just because of relationships and stuff. All of that is just, but again, like
it's understandable to like those, like it's a very normal, like I said like earlier, it's a very normal thing to think and to question. Like that's why when the night of Backlash, right, and obviously like my phone's gone mad or whatever. I kind of didn't really look at it at first. It was more when we got back to the hotel and stuff, and it was a funny quote from Lyra. I'm just gonna call her Eva.
Everyone knows.
She said something like, "This show had like Cena and Orton's last match, and like you're the most viral person." Whatever, I was laughing, but like
how did you feel about that? Because that was quite
honestly like.
But for me, it was the best thing that could have happened.
It was the best thing because the traction it got, because like again, like I'm very thin-skinned. I'm very much so like if I don't know someone that's saying something about me, I don't really care at all. If I don't have like now if someone I really respected told me something like bad, that would kill me. Like that would get me, that would upset me because you don't want to disappoint these people. So like, and this is, and I understand again, it's because I have nice friends and people who have good intentions. Everyone's messaging like, oh my god, you're getting all this online. Like, I hope you're feeling. I really hope you're okay. And I was like, honest to God, I was like, I could not care less about what a load of Twitter accounts say about me. But also, I was like, what are they saying? They're like, he looks like a nerd. I didn't. I was like,
I am a nerd. I'm very open.
They're not saying like something that is not true, I'm like, and so that stuff really doesn't bother me. But then it was the best thing that could happen because it gave me like that's where the whole now like the people are like, it's like Clark Kent, Superman. I was like, because I didn't think I looked that different. But then it was when I was seeing the photos, I was like, I do look quite different actually when I'm wrestling. And then so now like a lot of all my new merch is all like Superman inspired, but I got the idea for that, and then
the timing of that as well.
Exactly, and like that was May, so I just moved over in February, so just getting a good bit of attraction, and it was funny because it was half like, obviously people that don't know me being like, who's this geek, and then very fortunately the other half was like, no, like this person is like, so my pinned tweet is like me and Zack Sabre, so like the amount of like I was like, this is who you're talking about. So that was nice from anyone that said that. And then I remember it was it's actually CBL's brother, Blade Designs, he does all my graphics. I remember he was in the middle of already making me a base in Orlando graphic, and I was like, you need to give this to me tomorrow.
Nice.
This needs to go out now and I put it out, and like that ended up CM Punk shared that on his story. I hadn't met him yet, and then I got to meet him and try him and got to tell him thanks, and then have got to interact with him since and stuff, and how a ball can get rolling like that. So yeah, that stuff. Again, if I don't know you say something, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like if a wrestler I respect come up and was like, here, like that match was shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that might get me. Like because I'd be disappointed in myself if that really like this. I really don't think there's anything anyone could ever say to me, especially on the internet, that would like, and I really mean it as well. I remember having a conversation with Andy Still about it. He's a good friend, and he was like, I'm just hope you're okay. He goes, and again, it's so nice of me. He was like, now I know, when people say they're okay and they're not really, and I was like, Andy, I was like, I'm telling you though, I was like, I'm not pretending that I'm not okay. I'm not hiding it. I'm not I try to act brave in front of the lads. I was like, I really don't care, like in the best way possible. Yeah.
And it was great. Look, it's an opportunity, and it was smart. Was there any of the whole was there any slagging around that went on because we're Irish and that's how we respond to things? No, with your mates or anything like that?
No, more so they were like, no, not about that. They were just like, because that show was Saturday. I was in Five Factory Thursday night. And I remember specifically I told one of the lads I was meant to do a show that weekend, and I pulled out to do that, and he was like, "Why aren't you in the show?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm about to hurt." And funny enough, I was about to hurt my knee, and he was like, "Oh," he was like, "Well, take the rest." And then I show up and I get a message from him, and we're like, "You stupid." So we really like. It's a problem, right? We love lying to each other. It's bad. And he was just like, I just can't believe anything. To the point where when I did get the injury, he was like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna like show with the Rumble or something,
That's gas. Then of course, obviously, you brought up that led to you kind of meeting and training with Punk and stuff like that as well. Like, and then all these mad moments. Like your Instagram has just become a who's who. It's the coolest thing, and it is genuinely like watching you live this beautiful life. What was the most surreal moment, do you think, of the year and the experience and everything?
Probably like John Cena coming to the tryout was pretty surreal, because I'm someone that's very, in my head, any match is possible as long as it is. So, and when these bigger matches started to happen, I was like, well, they definitely can happen now. I've wrestled Pac, I've wrestled Dolph Ziggler and Zack Ryder, like anything can happen. So, and again, someone could laugh at this, I think it's a bit dramatic, but when Cena announced he's retiring, like I was like, that's now realistically, I was like, it's realistically impossible. And so I was like pretty sad that I had to come to terms with like, I'm not gonna get that. And I was told I was like, that was a bit of shit. So then at the tryout, for it to be like, what made me be okay coming to terms with it was I've been fortunate to have a good few interactions with him over the year.
Nice.
But the tryout one was so significant because I was like, I think this was meant to happen for me, because if I don't get to wrestle him, I won't get to wrestle him. But he came to my tryout in his last active year while he was WWE champion.
Nice.
My childhood hero. That was probably the most surreal. And some of the encounters after might have even been a bit more personal. But the significance of that making me be like, I think I'm very like, I think you put out good, like, the universe will reward you and all that. That was like, I was like, that's why this happened. And again, now there was 60 other people that tryout, they can all have their own interpretation of it. It's not me saying like, no, this is only the reason because of me. But to me, that's what made me be like, that's why it happened. Like I want to get to wrestling. He came to my tryout, and I remember that was the last day. I was like, no matter what happens, like from this, you know, like this will be the best thing that happened from this weekend.
And like, you know, you could have wrestled and that would have been amazing and stuff like that as well, but ultimately what are you looking for from wrestling him? You're looking at something that you have a moment where your life intersects with John Cena in a direct way, and you had that. You know, so it is box tick, but just not in a conventional way, and that's life. Like, so
like I said, there was some other very cool moments. I keep them to myself. Some of the other moments,
that's fair.
Maybe like in a few years time, but the significance of the tryout one was you kind of put it well there. Like the lives kind of caught, like you know, overlapping.
Yeah, you got there. You managed to intersect at some point with John Cena, and like you say, he came to your tryout. It wasn't just you going to see him
just for me.
Like, well, yeah, that's really cool. Comes to the time as well, and I do want to kind of talk about like the future because it's exciting, but also like, well, for me as an outsider, unknown right now. Like it's just So do you have goals that you want to hit in terms of, because you've always struck me as someone who is very like, you know where you want to go, you know what this journey's going towards, and you're going to work until you get what you want. Is there loads of goals like that still that you want to hit, or are you just like at the stage where you're clearly at the precipice of something big is probably around the corner that's going to be book 2 will begin, you know?
Book 2,
and like, do you know what that is? Do you know what you want it to be? Do you have tunnel vision as towards, I'm clearly going this very direct way, or are you like, you know, whatever comes because I'm in a good space, so whatever happens is going to be pretty cool anyway?
So like, I've never been a direct set goal person, as in like a checklist of tick 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 tick. But like, I'd be lying if I said, oh, obviously, you know, I can say company names or opponents, like, and I think about that stuff all the time because I'm obsessed with it. But based off some very recent advice that I got from somebody that kind of changed my outlook on specifically looking at the future a little bit. I think the best way I could say what I really want to do, whether it's next year or into the future. And again, like this is not me saying that like I'm not like I don't want to go with this company. I do. Like if it's a bit more of a casual conversation, I probably will be like, oh yeah, I want to wrestle this person. Because that is how I am. But right now, again, based off the maybe it was a question answered, and the way it was put very much so. I just now I've always tried to do this, but a bit more focused on it. I just want to do good work when it's to be done, in the sense that, and that could be on any scale. That could mean whether I'm coaching a class, having a 40-minute main event match, having a 5-minute match, doing a little social media promo with my phone, whatever that may be. I just want to put out good work, and for anyone that is supporting me to know, in any element or aspect of the job that you see me in, it is 100% my effort at all times, and there'll never be any questions that like you're not getting that out of me. So the way I kind of want to look at it is as each thing just comes now. I'm not saying I'm not looking into the future. I am looking into the future. I can't help it. But based off that conversation I had recently, like, it put, because whenever I have kind of been in that mindset before, things kind of just happen. You know, it's very. I've never been a big goal setter, because if you set direct goals and they don't happen, you might think you failed. And even if it's okay to fail, like I can have a bad match, or I can that wasn't good, I should have done this, but I haven't like failed at my dream, because I am a wrestler. So anything that comes with that is me accomplishing what I set out to do from the beginning. So do good work, and know that any chance I'm given is 100%, like any opportunity I'm given is just 100% effort put in, and that if anyone does support me, like, you'll know that. That's probably the best way I can put it. You're
trusting the process.
Yeah,
you're trusting that it's going to get you there.
Yeah.
Now, for the last question, I just want to skip way into the future. Okay. Now, and this is just totally hypothetical.
Am I retired?
Okay? You're retired.
Okay.
Okay. You walk into a room.
Yeah.
You choose the room, and I want to know, like, what type of room is it? Okay. You walk into a room and you hear people talk about LJ Cleary. They don't know you're there. You just hear them talk. Who's talking, and what do you want them to be saying when they're talking about you?
That's an interesting, good question. I mean, it'll probably just make sense for it to be like Five Factory in 40 years, wouldn't it? Like, it just makes sense. I guess I would just, like, if I had to pick, and maybe this is a more a superficial answer, which I don't really think I'm a superficial person, but I guess I would just like to think that anyone speaking about me is only talking about a positive experience, because now that's not me saying that every experience I've had with someone is positive. I actively do try and preach, like, positivity and stuff, but I guess I'd be very, like, happy with that, and not, you know, like, it could easily be like, oh, they walk in and are like, you've the best match ever against this person, but, like, I don't think I can get to that point without that kind of positivity or you know, potential influence on someone. I'm influenced by a lot of people. I love any chance I get to share a locker room with someone, or especially wrestle someone that's influenced me. Like, I have to tell them, like, honestly, I've never had a bad experience. Everyone I've ever told, like, is very appreciative of me. So if anyone ever told me that, it would mean the world. So, like, just to have a positive, for them to speak about a positive experience with me, and whatever scale that might be one training session, or it might be someone that, like, I've been around 10 years. That's probably it.
Nice.
Yeah.
LJ Cleary, I know how challenging it is, and you really made an effort to kind of fit this.
We did it.
So really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving us an insight into your beautiful life. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Big thank you once again to LJ Cleary for being so generous with his time. Fascinating, isn't it? And again, I think that's going to be something. Very early into the original Low Blows podcast, we interviewed Finn Balor when he was still Fergal Devitt, just before he signed for WWE. And that was fascinating because it was a little time capsule of when he could speak fully freely, because he was still not fully signed, but it was just like, he was like, I'm not saying he didn't tell me or anything like that, but it was at the stage where he could have had a call that day with WWE. Yeah. Like, it was very close to that. Not LJ, but Balor. But he was still in a position where he could speak freely and stuff like that. Yeah. And you could feel it in the interview, and it served as a little time capsule that we can look back on. I feel like the LJ interview is going to age that way as well, because he just got into everything. And, you know, you may, like, in WWE, they just have to be more conscious because there's just so many more eyes. Like, you may not get another LJ interview like that because he'll be guided by stuff like that as well. But so giving with his time, so giving with his kind of answers and stuff like that as well, and just an absolute treasure trove. Support him, especially over here while he still can. I don't think he's going to. I think his days in Ireland are probably numbered. I think he's quite open with that as well, and that's a good thing. So support him while you can. If you want to go see LJ, he's going to be at Five Factories episode 44, which is in Dublin City on February 13th. There's only a few tickets left, so if you like, please do go. They're great. I'm going to be there. But, like, you need to act fast. Tickets are on eventbrite.ie. And if you want to support LJ directly, you can also buy his merch on his Big Cartel. We're going to include ticket links to both in our show notes as well. So if you want to know where you can get it directly, just literally look at it.
I think LJ is definitely going places. He's one of the, you look at the people who've been signed to other places, and he's right along, like he's at the same level that they are, or he's not. He's very, very close to it. But yeah, thanks for the invite to the interview, Gerry. Cheers. Yeah, thanks for bringing me along.
I told you last week.
Yeah.
Get your own fucking interviews.
I'm going to give the people what they want right now, because I got feedback at the Royal Rumble. I got feedback from the people saying, thanks, Gerry. You're doing God's work by saying what you say to Gerry. I'm like, what? Oh, really? Oh, yeah. So what I have to tell you from the heart, fuck you. Fuck you. Because I didn't get a fucking invite. So I tell you what, I'm gonna get an interview, right? I'm gonna get an interview, and you're not fucking invited. How'd you like
Okay.
them apples? How'd you like
You're
them
welcome.
apples?
You're
Fuck you.
welcome. You're welcome
Fuck
to
you.
go for
Yeah.
it by all
Fuck
means.
you.
That's grand.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
happy with that, Gerry. I
Oh,
want
I'm.
to hear the
Yeah.
Gerry
Yeah.
interview.
Yeah.
Right. Gerry trained interviewer here, so like that's not. You might think that I think that's a bad thing. That's a great thing. Gerry's a very good interviewer. Gerry, before we go, we got to wrap up, and then we're gonna go for a break for a couple of weeks. It feels like we're Pennywise. It's like, and now I go for my big sleep. But we've been up to our eyes
Yeah.
pre-launching this show, organizing the Rumble party as well. So we will be back in a couple of weeks though, and then we plan to go every second week or thereabouts. We'll be there in the big weeks, and if there's something big that happens, we'll kind of jump on for an emergency now and then as well.
Yeah.
But Gerry, in the meantime, before we do go, if you end the plug, if you don't end the plug, is there anything you're watching or enjoying, or you want to just give a shout out to?
For me, plans are gearing up for the first Dublin Comic Con of the year, which is in March 8th and 9th, I believe the dates are. It's going to be absolutely huge. The guests we have it's an absolutely stacked show. We have Anthony Daniels, who's C3PO, obviously me and you, big Star Wars nerds, and he's going to be there. You know what I mean? So to be able to not only see him at Dublin Comic Con, but to actually be backstage with him, have a chat with him, so that's huge.
Are you going to be able to like stay cool? Like, are you going to mark out?
But I have been respectful with every single guest that we've had over, and some of them for me have been huge. And I'm like, Jesus Christ! I'm like, wow. Anthony Daniels, it is going to test my resolve, absolutely. But another person who's going to test my resolve is Kate Mulgrew, who was Captain Janeway in Star Trek Voyager, and she was red in Orange and New Black. She is my favorite captain in all of Star Trek, and that's a big thing. So to get the chance to meet her and talk to her is amazing, and I can't wait for that. Myself and everybody that work at Dublin Comic Con, we've been having chats over the last couple of weeks. Plans are gearing up, obviously, for the first one. Then we have more events throughout the year. But hearing who we could potentially have at the next events, I'm sitting there going, "Oh, sweet Jesus, okay, this is big. This is going to be big." So watch the Dublin Comic Con socials. There's going to be announcements of the couple of weeks going into the summer. We've got Dublin Comic Con in March. We've got Dublin Comic Con Summer Edition in August. We will have dates for HorrorCon and dates for Cork Comic Con as well. And you never know, we might have more shows on the way, and we have to wait and see. But for me, the plans. They start so early in the year. It's not like, oh, we'll start a month beforehand. No, this is just so early in the year. And just to see the amount of work that goes into these shows and the effort that gets put in by everybody behind the scenes is absolutely huge. So for me, like, I do a minor part for Dublin Comic Con, but just to see what goes on is absolutely amazing. And I will say this, the guest announcements are going to be fucking huge. Right. You're going to be people are going to be very, very happy. And personally, for me, I've been pushing, like, I do be pushing for Star Wars, for Star Trek, for the likes of Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and stuff like that. The guests that are coming, you're going to be very happy with them. I'm going to say that now. So just keep your eyes on the socials. It's all going to come out, and you're going to be very, very happy.
What are the social handles, or where do people get tickets? What's the best way to?
Best way to get all information on everything is DublinComicCon.com. So it's DublinComicCon.com. You'll get it there, or Dublin Comic Con on Instagram. You'll get it there as well.
Right. Well, you really have no excuse for not getting that interview now with all of that. You've set yourself up, put your hand out to be slapped. Guys, I've got, if you want to hear more of my rambling somehow afterwards, Ger's breakdown on TikTok or Instagram as well. I'm going to have how to bet on the Super Bowl this year. That's coming up this week. Always one of my faves to kind of research and look forward to. I'm going to be in Woolshed for that, I think, next week. So come say hello if you're there as well. And also things I've been watching and enjoying. I got to finish the new series of Wonder Man this morning. It was my little treat to myself. Literally, I got home last night, watched a couple episodes, and finished them this morning. It is the best Marvel TV show in a while. It is excellent. Right. It's got elements of the studio in it. The way they tie in Trevor Slattery, the Mandarin, of course, played by Ben Kingsley. The way they tie him in, it feels excessive at first first when he shows up. It feels like, oh, you're just bringing in a Marvel guy. But no, they do it brilliantly. It fits so perfectly, and the story is just really contained and just fun. Again, it feels like the Seth Rogen show, the studio, more than it feels like a Marvel show. But it's a really clever use of Marvel diversifying, like, kind of how it can tackle things, and it feels. I won't say it feels like WandaVision, but it reminded me of WandaVision in that WandaVision had its own kind of image and idea and stuff like that, and it's very, very good. So Wonder Man, I advise checking out. And just a shout out as well, I want to give a tribute to the late Catherine O'Hara, who passed away this weekend. Absolute legend, an icon. Of course, best known probably as Kevin's mom from Home Alone, but had such a distinguished career outside of that. That's just like her iconic film. Of course, Beetlejuice as well, she was a big part of. But then there was this. Why I feel so sad about this is we were just getting, like, a late rejuvenation of her career that started with Schitt's Creek, but then she was in the studio as well, and I'm really good with that because she had such a prominent role and she was brilliant in it. She was also probably the highlight. The one thing that you can't argue was amazing about season 2 of The Last of Us, and I was looking forward to hopefully getting a bit more of her in that as well. But an absolute icon, a legend, and I've been reading back quotes and stuff like since I heard the news, obviously, the other day. And yeah, she'll be massively missed, and a huge contribution to our worlds, just the world of entertainment in general. Guys, that's all the time we have for now. Like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We're going to go take a well-earned break. Gerry, thank you so much for all of your work and getting the podcast up and running, and the Royal Rumble party. It's been an intense January, but it's been a fun January, and a part of that is because I got to spend a lot of time with yourself. So looking forward to catching up, but go take a well-earned rest. But until we are back, stay tuned to the feeds, stay tuned to the socials. But in the meantime, he's been Gerry, I've been Ger, and that's the bottom line, because Low Blow said so.
So go fuck yourselves.